All right, what is up? What is up? We are live. We are back for another Tuesday night live stream here on the pod. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us, for returning. If you're returning, for the new guests, I guess, if you're new, for everybody who's jumping on, thank you guys. Of course, we are here Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday, and we've got, of course, NBA midweek action in full effect, but the college season is in I guess, full swing tonight as well too. We've got the ACC SEC challenge, and there is quite a few top 25 matchups, so I imagine that will kind of just end up following along with some of those games as well too. It's the first place we want to go with the scoreboard anyways, but I feel like, hey yo, now that we're on the ESPN homepage, I guess, Rem and Sam pod, I don't know if it's a wonder through ESPN, sort of Tuesday night, but maybe we do have to start with an apology to Lane Kiffin. I don't know what was in the lost tapes or not from Sunday. We did have a little bit of technical difficulties, but we were saying at one point, so maybe, the technical difficulties were fortunate. I don't know. Some of the takes get a little crazy there. I don't know if we turned into Feinbaum talking about Lane Kiffin, but, it's like, okay, he gets the job. Now all of a sudden he's not coaching Ole Miss. Well, obviously because he got the job. But again, not necessarily obviously, because he could have still stayed with Ole Miss for the rest of the year. It was the controversy, I guess, in that. And then, of course, it was the details sort of funneled out a little bit later after we did the live stream, or I guess, we saw them after we did the live stream as well, too, where it turns out Ole Miss was actually the ones that was initiated. I guess it was in the press conference that he did yesterday, the introductory press conference with Ole Miss, or with LSU, where he was saying that, or in maybe some interview setting or whatever. I don't know. We just saw the quote on Instagram and we're like, believe it, it's true that Ole Miss apparently was the one that sort of initiated the separation. And I guess, he could say anything now. We haven't necessarily looked up any quotes from the Ole Miss athletic director to say, hey, we actually did want Lane Kiffin to coach the last couple of games, and he said no, but the story seems to be the other way. And it's like, okay, that does seem like the more likely thing at the end of the day, because again, in the past, and I don't know if we can look at the teams last year, and I know we can. I guess the point is, well, we remember necessarily all of the coaching switch over from year to year as well too. So we'll see what we can find here. And the top 12 as well too is a little bit interesting. What kind of maneuverability is there in the top 12? I mean, you can definitely build a program up to that level, but still, a lot of times it is kind of the shuffling of still some good programs. And there is that argument that Ole Miss is, that kind of program that you'd want to stay with for, who knows how long as well too. It's a good trusty program, chat. Hey, maybe some, I don't know, long term there for Lane Kiffin. So yeah, here, let's see. Last year, the top 12 playoff teams, what would have been the changes? I guess, James Madison didn't make the playoffs, did they? Signetti going to, I don't think this is his first year at Indiana either. We could go back and see when he got hired from James Madison. So you Lanning, Smart, Sark, I guess, Franklin now, of course, Freeman, Day, Heupel. Here, wait, we'll double check. 11-1, of course. That was definitely, Signetti last year. But was that his first year, or was 2023? Oh, okay. So, man, he's only lost one game at Indiana. I guess 2 games at Indiana. Shout out, really putting the test. Really getting tested this week against Ohio State. But they did win against Oregon, though, right? Do we have to double check that this year? Can we get a schedule? Did I see that game? Did that actually happen? Hey, yo, is there a chance? I mean, shout out. I don't think there is. Is there even a trophy game between Michigan and Indiana? So we might, we're allies this week, Chad. It is what it is, and the Colts connection there, it's easy crossover for us to be rooting for the Hoosiers this week. Shout out. I mean, rest in peace, Gene Hackman. Make no mistake, chat. We're all in. Indiana Hoosiers. Shout out. We'll see what happens. Yeah, they did win against Oregon. They were pretty, I would say pretty dominant. Dominant's not obviously the right word, but in control. They were pretty in control in that game for the most part of it. So between that, Illinois, and then, this game against Ohio State, I don't even know where Illinois is at this point in the rankings as well, too. I mean, Iowa's become a good team. Yeah, Iowa, Illinois, maybe they're kind of in the same range there. And, they've handled business all throughout the season, of course. Penn State I guess that was a close game, but, Penn State kind of fighting there. They're at Penn State trying to get that sort of morale win for the locker room and the guys in the program. Fighting, I guess, after of course, the coach and the changeover and just the sort of loss of expectations and, what that instant success of that team should be there. But yeah, I guess, like we're saying, we'll really have to see this year or this week what the test is. But I guess that's not the point. They still have the same coach. They weren't necessarily losing. So he might, obviously that might be next up because that is a pretty similar situation, of course, that is. And, we've the last couple of weeks with the coaching cycle going, we've been just arbitrarily, I don't even know if that's the right word there, but, maybe we're just arbitrarily throwing out a word, but we're just randomly throwing out like where this team would land in a coaching job tier just in general. And with as course of good of a program as Michigan, as Indiana has proven to be this year, and with as good of, as competitive as they can be, you can say they can be, of course, as good as anybody, but it would still probably be respectfully the football job. And it's, again, the value has increased this year. I don't know if we would have said that Indiana would have been a great football job, but, Penix was there they were kind of fun with Penix, and I don't know, there is kind of a sleekness to their uniforms as well, too. And, again, good vibes. It's not like they've, I feel like everybody kind of has, shout out, just everybody have fond memories against Indiana. I don't know if that's a pause, but, and not to say that anybody, everybody's had their upsets against everybody or however you want to phrase it. Iowa fans have good memories against Michigan. They have memories of upsets and things happening there. So, again, it goes for every school. But Indiana is one of those schools, I feel like, unless it's, I guess, a Northwestern, interstate, maybe some stuff like that, some, just direct rivalries. I feel like the other schools, it's like, okay, Indiana, they're cool. It is what it is. Northwestern, they're definitely cool, but I don't know if they have necessarily. We'd have to go back and see when Northwestern joined the Big Ten. I don't even know when Indiana joined the Big Ten, but they feel more like a Big Ten. Shout out, I don't mean to discriminate against Northwestern. It is what it is. Headline Northwestern, not a Big Ten team, but there is. I don't want to be disrespectful because again well, I guess we have the 2023 record up this year, but they're undefeated this year. They could be literally the best team in the Big Ten. They could be the best team in college football. You never know. I hate to throw the jinx on them right before they play the Buckeyes, but so I don't want to call them the little brother of the Big Ten, but again, we're still looking the whole legacy of it all, chat. We have to look at all of the years. As a Michigan fan this year against Indiana, this is one of those all of the years arguments. It is what it is. But, again, just for the vibes of how we would feel, pause going into the conference championship game. It is what it is. Hey, it's not even the Friday live stream. We're talking about the college football weekend, but I guess the college, the rankings drop and the college basketball, the playoff vibes of it all are in the air, I guess. So, it is what it is. Boise State, do they still have the same coach, Spencer Danielson? Maybe so I get 8-4 this year. I don't know. Spencer Danielson, is he getting the same kind of calls as he was last year? But I guess he has built the program up a little bit. Only 4 games in 2024, but still had a pretty good record. Or did he build the program up? Maybe he's taking the program the wrong direction. Who knows? Shout out to Spencer Danielson. But yeah, they have, basically everybody has retained the head coach. Wait a second. Arizona State. We have to remember. Oh, Dillingham, he's still there? Did he go somewhere else? Okay, Dillingham is still there as well, too. And again, with them having playoff success, they won the Big 12. That's right. Scattaboo. Does Scattaboo carry the team? Maybe a little bit, but, Dillingham was definitely getting some love. Pause as well too. So maybe 2026, the next cycle, his name will get tossed around out there a little bit. Pause. I guess Penn State hasn't made a head coach hire yet. Hey, can we search for Penn State head coach? The Bing, this Microsoft Bing search engine, is so basic that I feel like it's just gonna, pull up some sketchy results. It is what it is. But 2025. Okay, well, it says, I guess, not necessarily sketchy, but inaccurate. I mean, shout out, of course, James Franklin, great run, but, well, really good run, but not the head coach of Penn State anymore, unfortunately. It says it currently is. It doesn't say he was like the last active head coach or whatever. So, yeah, he is. They haven't necessarily had a name yet at this point. So, Sataki, BYU agrees to extensions after Penn State rumors. And like we said, Cignetti did sign an extension in Indiana, so he maybe needs to take again, no disrespect to Penn State, would it have to be one of the other crazy jobs? And, we don't want to kick Sharon Moore out as well, too. We're just saying a program of that level, would it have to be the Michigan job? If would Sark go somewhere else? I guess would Sark go back to the NFL? And then if Sark, I don't even know who he would coach in the NFL as well, too. I don't know why. Did he coach the Falcons in the past? I don't know why I was thinking he would go pause round 2 with Atlanta, but I feel like that would be with Penix, and maybe I guess DeBoer was Penix's head coach in college, so if there was going to be that connection there, that would be the one that of course would make sense. But if we were just going talent, talent to talent, I guess maybe talented college head coach, talented college quarterback, takes over for takes over in Atlanta. Hey, I guess we're not trying to take jobs away. Shout out, Raheem Morris, but we're just saying that we're just throwing out hypotheticals. Like if a job had to open up for Cignetti to potentially leave somewhere, like where would it be? It had to be somewhere probably on that type of stage. I guess the Florida, Duke is playing Florida right now in college basketball. I don't know or I guess we should phrase it. Florida is playing Duke right now in college basketball. I guess, and they again hired the Tulane coach, but would the Florida job have been, it would I think be considered an upgrade for Cignetti, but again, would he consider it overall in the landscape of college basketball or college football? We'll get it straight with whatever we're watching, whatever we're talking about. It is what it is. But maybe Cignetti takes over for college basketball. I'm not sure. I'm sure there have been coaches in the past. I mean, Saban, and toward the end of the Saban run there, Nate Oates and stuff, they were definitely, the basketball program has definitely emerged as a really consistent, really good program. But, and yeah, the ESPN headline just scrolls on the bottom of the screen as well, too, with the extension for the BYU head coach. So seems like he is sticking around at that program. But isn't Ryan Smith, hey, wait a second, are we going to have some Wi-Fi troubles early on? We've got some TV buffering. I think might be able to fire through it. But isn't the Utah Jazz a big investor? Pause. Is maybe a major investor over there at BYU? I don't know if we can get on, the Googles have IT kind of look that up, see what we can, dig up research-wise. But, of course, if we looked at their basketball, again, with him being the Jazz owner, I don't know if the basketball program as well, too. He's trying to create, his own AAU team for Utah. But it was, I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe he might have been a little influential in the recruitment of Dembasta. So you just imagine, again, the funds, the capability of the program in general. It's not like him staying there, you would go, oh. And that's the thing with the NIL, like we're saying, is what is a lateral move now and what is actually an upgrade? Like, is it not just, how much does like the prestige of the school matter versus, again, sort of the current state and funding of the school? I mean, speaking of the college basketball, correlation of it, when Calipari, of course, was going from Kentucky to Arkansas, it's like, well, yeah, I guess Kentucky is the quote unquote better basketball program, but Arkansas, you look at the NIL capabilities that they have, and if you get a guy like Calipari that can up your recruitment value, then yeah, and you also have this financial incentive for these kids to go there now, then it can be a major player with any of these schools. And I guess looking at the ranking, is that for men's? Does it say men's? Hey, I guess we do have, we're not going to complain about our eyesight, that's for sure. It's just, at some point, I guess print on the TV can get small enough where we can't see it. But yeah, I guess Wednesday or tomorrow, Louisville is playing Arkansas. So they got Arkansas ranked at 25 right now. So yeah, not the highest that Arkansas has ever been ranked, but you can picture now in 2025 in NIL landscape, the freedom with the spending, like we're saying, you can picture some of these schools catching up from a competitive or from a desirability standpoint, if that makes sense, from a job standpoint. And at the end of the day, there is a sort of above groundness, that this is happening as well too, where it's just there's a legal element that is now in place, and this has all been happening in the past, which is why I think, and not to say that the spending is the same on every level in the past, but again, it's not to say that some of these schools weren't making investments in their programs in general. Not to start allegations, but was Duke, and we're not even saying money, however you want to phrase it, but were their schools investing in their basketball programs before NIL made it legal? Sure. So, again, it's not like, everything has totally changed in terms of what programs are really great, but like we're saying, seeing in the college football landscape, some of these NIL heavy teams like in Texas have had pretty successful regular seasons thus far, and of course we'll see, but it's not like Ohio State, I'm sure, doesn't spend on their roster. Again, I don't necessarily know the top 10 roster costs off, I don't have the ranking for 2025 memorized, I guess, but I would imagine that they're not necessarily too far off of that. And again, you look at the names as well too, obviously the talent, it's pretty clear. And now, we are also at the quote unquote beginning of it. So, Day and some of the guys do have a little bit of that carryover legacy as well too. Like guys just know at this point that Ryan Day has those capabilities, especially, offense. We've seen him with the receivers and the quarterbacks, but even defensively as well too. Again, he specifically, and us giving Ryan Day credit, but it is it is what it is. I guess we can sports hate him and still obviously acknowledge the fact that he's a talented head coach. And at the end of the day, we didn't beat Urban Meyer 4 times in a row. So, just shout out to Ryan Day. It is what it is. Keep him around. He's susceptible to a couple losses. But maybe it turns out that Michigan game might have actually been the best. If we go back for the Ryan Day documentary, it's like, oh, he was a really good college football head coach, really kind of almost on the brink of breaking through, but all of a sudden it seemed like it was really going to go bad with this Michigan turn, and then he literally hasn't lost a game since then, and he might win 2 national titles, and it's like, oh man, I don't even know, is that like what's the moment in the we got to go back and watch Avengers movies? I'm not sure, but what's the moment in the Avengers movie where it's like this thing that we thought was like the moment that we won is actually the moment we want to go back and redo? Maybe this isn't a movie thing. Maybe this feels more like what's the phase we're in now? Not the multiverse saga. This feels more like a multiverse saga type of storyline. But in the moment, of course, we're getting that 4th upset versus Ohio State. It's like Sherrone Moore taking over for Harbaugh. We don't even have a long-term starting quarterback option yet. The season has been a little bit up and down from a record standpoint, and somehow we're going into Ohio State and getting the win like this. And, with, again, Harbaugh, it took all of those years to build up the program to be able to go into Ohio State and take over the games. And it's like all of a sudden, the surprise victory against Ohio State, like that is literally never supposed to happen. So the fact that, again, it is at the end of this run of us also getting those tough wins against, those we'll say dominant wins again, just to throw out words. It is what it is. But those dominant wins against Ohio State those couple years, and like we're saying, to cap that off with that upset win is just a crazy run. But if it means that now Ohio State and Ryan Day is, if it means that Ryan Day is the most motivated he's ever been in his career, then I don't know. Would we go back and sacrifice? Because the other thing, again, you have to consider, like we're saying, they won the national title. Well, what does that mean? It means that they lost the Michigan game and were still able to win the national title. So ultimately, again, if we go back and change that game to a loss, yes, in the moment, oh no, Ohio State, they get the better of Michigan. It's a terrible thing. Though it's the worst thing you can imagine going into any season, obviously. But I guess other than the fact that Ohio State could rattle off 2 national titles, as a result of that. So again, I don't know if we have to take a poll, but if we, Michigan fans, would we go back and change? And maybe it's an obvious one if we dramatically, also if we're just giving Ohio State a second national championship too, as well. We're just giving them a lot of credit there. We got to let the playoffs play out. But if we were asking Michigan fans, would you trade that? Again, we're not trading all of the Ohio State losses, or we're not turning them all into losses. But would we trade that Ohio State victory for them? And like we said, we don't know the result, but I guess we could secure the fact that they don't win the national title this year. I guess, do we get greedy and say they don't win the Big Ten as well? But I guess, they would win that game, so they could still play. They'd still be, obviously, all the Big Ten stuff implications that would still be there. But I honestly, if we could guarantee the fact that, shout out, but if we could guarantee the fact that Ohio State would not win these back-to-back national titles and change the result of that game, I mean, it was fun as well too. Well, I can't say fun because, again, if there was some real world stuff in there, it's like, State fans, what are you doing sending your coach stuff in the mail? That's super, you're like, what are we doing here? Like, whereas, make no mistake, the BETSTAMP pod is passionate about his sports as anybody, but I guess not, because we're probably not going to be, writing crazy letters to people, sliding into the DMs with certain threats. It's like, okay, at the end of the day, we're talking about football games here. But, from the other side of the narratives, the football narratives, and again, as well, too, you start calling for a guy's job, that's a real world thing as well. It also assumes maybe the implication that Ryan Day gets hired and the dollar amount is still the same. So it's like, okay, a move, like, the mansion gets moved from Columbus to Gainesville, like, shout out. But, at the end of the day, the idea that the coaching situation, if we were to narrow it down to the one thing that I guess was funny, the idea that the coaching situation in Ohio State wasn't correct was a funny emotion, I guess, the tame side of that for them to see. But again, it got dark as well too, so we're not necessarily shouting that out. And even if it is the rival team, at the end of the day, it is still, if we have to say it, it is just football. But there was, I saw a post on Instagram that I don't even know if this was true. This story almost seemed fake, but it was apparently some guys at Coca-Cola were trying to sell off some secrets to Pepsi. So I don't know how many likes this post got. We should check. I don't know if we're, exposing them here, but they were trying to sell off some secrets to Pepsi. This was like early 2010s, and apparently Pepsi turned these guys in to, maybe it was the FBI, some kind of corporate espionage type of charge. But, they turned him in. They snitched on him. They were like, what are you doing? Like, I get that we're rivals with Coca-Cola over here, but, we gotta win a fair game. We don't want to necessarily just, find the game plan book on the sideline and know all the plays. Like, we gotta, we actually want to go out there and play defense a little bit. I honestly think that, would it be more well received if a football team found the playbook and then was like, does that just feel more like the lapse of another? And I guess to some degree as well too, if like if a Coca-Cola executive just like left some secrets, if it like left the recipe just laying around, just like scribbled it on a bar napkin and just left it there, and then a Pepsi executive was at the next table, I was like, wait a second, this table didn't get bust, and somehow this secret Coca-Cola recipe, the one time the table didn't get bust, the secret Coca-Cola recipe napkin is on the table, and the Pepsi executive finds it. Like, maybe they don't, who do you turn in at that point? It's just like, it's meant to be. Pepsi is supposed to be number one. I guess we're not even making a statement. We're not taking sides in the soda wars. What to even call it as well too. Soda, pop. That could be a whole debate as well. But the Pepsi Cola wars, we're not taking a side on that. It is what it is. But if that was the situation in which they uncovered the secrets, maybe it would just be fair game. But they didn't want necessarily the corporate espionage side of it as well. So maybe that would be kind of like the same thing, where it's just got to be fair game. But we do have halftime approaching, I guess, for the NBA game that we do have in the background. Boston versus New York in Boston. Boston charging back in the second quarter here a little bit. and gaining a lead. So it is close. Of course, shout out the Knicks, the better team. We'll see how they close here. But Duke versus Florida as well. I don't know if we mentioned the rankings for that one, but that's a top 15 battle. We got Florida at 15, Duke at 4. Duke undefeated, so they are up in this one so far. This would be a good checkpoint win probably for them, seeing how far they can go with that record. But of course, college basketball, the longer season, we know that you get a little bit more susceptible to a low-key game every now and then. It can definitely happen. But yeah, we might have to just double check here and see what the sports schedule is for tonight. At least, starting like we said with the college basketball side of things. Can we get that going here and see what we can find? Apparently not enough into the season to make it on the main page yet. It is what it is. But, and the Jayhawks without Peterson tonight, that was, shout out the Wolverines, up to 3. We'll just sit tight and see what happens. We're, of course, fresh off a tournament victory. I forget exactly what the name of the tournament was, but we were definitely cruising there. Bracketology this early in the year, chat? Hey, yo. I guess technically we only are a couple of months away. I don't know if that is a technically for the college basketball schedule, but we are a couple of months away, so maybe we start, just seeing where we're at with the bracketology of it all. But again, a dominant performance, that's for sure. Do we look up Ken Palm this early in the season? I don't know if we start getting excited, but we were definitely, speaking of excited, pause, trying to see a little Darren Peterson versus UConn. We don't necessarily know UConn's roster year to year. They still had maybe a couple of guys left over from some of that national title. They didn't win the national title last year, or did they? Am I mistaken? Who won the national title last year, Chad? Hey, we gotta go back and look that up. It is what it is. At this point, it takes like a season for the stats to register. So after, we get a new national title this season, then the past national title from last year will be the one that locks in. And we're like, okay, we got that one memorized. Now we just have to remember, wait a second, who won the national title last year? It is what it is. But I guess this game is underway as well, too. So Kansas 21, UConn at 5. But yeah, no Peterson tonight. I guess a little bit of a a test for Kansas's depth, for their just, overall team tournament capabilities. Peterson going on a crazy scoring guard run in the tournament is something that I guess you definitely could see. You definitely have to keep in mind. Oh, they still have Caravan hanging around. Shout out. That's a name that you've seen around over the last couple of years. Solo Ball? Whoa. Who's Solo Ball, chat? Do we have to, is this the Lil Dicky character? Did he commit to UConn? What's going on? Solo Ball. Hey, yo, 2 for 2 tonight. The best of the Ball brothers. Shout out. Pause. Whoa. Bryson Tiller. Is this a celebrity? What is this, chat? What game is this? Hey, yo, we got Solo Ball and Bryson Tiller. I mean, shout out. Does the artist Bryson Tiller, is it the same name? 2 L's? I think there was a rapper that I just saw committed, I think, to football. Who was it? Tusi? I think it was I don't even know if this was serious as well, too. I guess you never know these days. Can we Tusi football and see what happens here? But yeah, I think he's going to Syracuse. I don't know exactly what he's playing. Wide receiver, rap artist Tusi commits to Syracuse as wide receiver, pivoting from music career. I mean, why does he have to pivot, Chad? He's an athlete now. It's the perfect time to be a rap artist. I don't know. That's when you start dropping bars, once you become an athlete. So he's actually had the backwards career. Hey, yo, it is what it is. 25 Tusi, shout out. Checking stuff off the list at this point. It is what it is. Yeah, well, I don't even know what his recruitment rankings are. And I guess I didn't know initially looking at the post, and I wasn't doubting it being a gimmick. Again, it seemed like it was legit. I was like, this doesn't seem like an album rollout, but it could be pretty cool if it was. And, at any level as well, too, just committing to D1 football is a pretty big achievement. You know, it definitely speaks to his skill. Like, do we have to go back and look up Jid's football career and see where he was going there? You know, maybe the music stuff pivoting there a little bit. You know, obviously, you know, maybe the timeline's a little bit reversed. But I don't know. So I don't know, you know, what his opportunities were, what he gave himself opportunities-wise for playing in college. But, you know, I don't know if he had Division I on the table as well, too. Maybe he did have some offers. So, you know, we don't necessarily want to doubt what he, again, was capable of. And I know he's posted highlight reels and stuff on some of his freestyles in the past. Jid's college football pro. Hampton, defensive back. Oh, wait, is Hampton Division I? Hampton might be Division I. I'm not exactly sure. Do we have to double check here and see what we have? Yeah, number 6. Okay, shout out. We've got an interception on the board, chat. 3 years on the box score. Do we have anything in the bio? Not too much. But yeah, 3 seasons. Hampton. Wait, so I guess we have to find out what in the realignment as well too. I don't know what will be reliable, but what conference is Hampton in? Can we get a link? Here, we might just have to look them up on Sports Reference. When was the last time Hampton was ranked? Feels like a team that could have won a couple of national titles back in the day. Omari on Hampton. I don't know if that is what we're looking for. I guess we could just see if Jid's page is on here as well too, though it might not be. Yeah, I don't know if it's popping up. Pause. So I guess we'll see where Tusi, you know, if he shows up on the Sports Football Reference. It is what it is. But yeah, and you know, again, a shout out. Obviously, you know, we're on ESPN here looking at the page, so there is a certain notability to the team that he was on. I guess here we got a Reddit profile. Maybe this can help us figure out what was going on here. I guess this would just be the schools page that it had us linked to. Oh, chat. I guess if we want to just see him get ruthlessly roasted, we could scroll through Reddit. It is what it is. Or we could just see if we could find, I guess, hey, yo, we should have just clicked into the university page to start. It is what it is. Played 11 games, 5 tackles on the season, 2 tackles against Delaware State. That was a sophomore, freshman, redshirt freshman season, and then the 11 games, and yeah, then 11 games his sophomore season. So wait a second, does it tell us what conference is Hampton in, chat? Hey, yo, we're just got to look them up. Hampton in? Hey, yo, Hampton Pirates. And see what we have. College football team. NCAA Division I. Oh, CAA. Wait a second. Coastal Athletic Conference? Okay, what other teams are in the Coastal Athletic Conference? Isn't CAA a sports? Isn't that like an agency? Does the agency run this conference? Oh, Villanova is in here. I don't know. The Vaughnton Football School. Is that the right word? Villanova? Okay, William and Mary. Shout out. We've got some. It's a good basketball school, Chad. A good basketball conference. Hey, yo, Rhode Island, Villanova, Monmouth, New Hampshire, maybe? William and Mary, Maine, Elon, Stony Brook, Townsend, Campbell, North Carolina, A&T, Bryant, Albany, Hampton. Oh, chat, Jid. Why Hampton? They need to get Jid in there as like an ambassador. Hey, yo, I don't know what the NIL capabilities are, but again, this is Division I, so we've seen all these athletes and celebrity alumni. They go back to the school and they're trying to help with the NIL and the recruitment and all that stuff. I mean, imagine, I think Weber State, they got Dame to go back as the GM. And I mean, you're telling me right now that Jid would not want to be the GM of, I mean, this guy. There's no way this guy's not on 2K or Madden, association messing around. I mean, we all are. If we're a sports fan, we all are. If they were, if the community college that we went to, like, if they approached the pod and were like, hey, we want you guys to be the GM for the college, we'd probably think about it for like 5 minutes and then maybe give it the day just to be professional, but we would probably instantly be like, we're probably going to say yes. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking for myself in this situation as well too. We're not. I guess, or is it a drop everything and go be the GM for the community college? I don't know if for Woj, it's a Woj situation. I feel like maybe in our case, we could potentially still manage to have a career in a couple of different lanes. I guess like we're saying, Steph is still somehow managing a Davison general managing career and being a college or being a professional NBA player. But Hampton, if anybody from Hampton is listening, call in, shout out. But I guess get on the phone with Jid and tell him that he needs to be the GM for the football team, and maybe they can take this conference, because I guess it like we're saying, it's a good conference, but it is susceptible. Like, I don't know necessarily all the football history here, but Rhode Island 11-2. I guess they're 8-0 in conference play, 2-10 on the season, but 11-2 for Rhode Island. So all of these records kind of being exact opposite. Do they just play each other? Do we have to look up the schedule? Oh, wait a second. No, Villanova versus Lehigh. Lehigh's not in the conference. So yeah, they do play. I guess South Dakota. Oh, South Dakota State. Okay, so maybe some FBS scheduling in there as well too. I mean, South Dakota State. I guess the FBS had to share. The FCS is maybe on a different level. Who knows? But if the FCS is taking out conference CAA, then yeah, you need to get Jin on the phone and see what's going on. Unless for some reason there's I don't know why. If something happened in the college career that he wouldn't want to go back, I don't know. But again, that wasn't on the ESPN profile, and I don't think he's mentioned that in any of his bars. So I assume all is well, and we can just get him in there as the GM of the team. Start turning that program around. It is what it is. Oh, tonight after the game chat, Peacock announcing some MJ insights to excellence. What's this, like some MJ doc? But I mean, all you got to do is just put some footage of MJ in practice, and it's like, wait a second, what just happened? It's like somehow we're just programmed to just know that if MJ's on the TV, like, I guess regardless of who it is, if MJ's on the TV, we're probably just gonna be watching. But especially for the degenerates like us, you start going, wait a second, this isn't even game footage, like this is practice footage. It's almost more, it is almost more interesting at this point, at least maybe. And I think you can check the tapes. There is quite a long history of the REMINGTOM pod. I don't want to say prioritizing practice highlights over real highlights, but it is pretty close. I want to say that when we watch a lot of the games as well too, compared to watching some of the practice highlights. It's the only way you can watch the practices themselves. But I would say that I do watch more practice highlights than normal highlights in general. But again, if it's the only way that we could watch NBA, then we'd probably just be catching up on the highlights more in general, and then the watch time for that would be increased. But yeah, for us, I would say that, oh man, see, I guess what would it be like? Would you choose an NBA game, like an MJ NBA game versus an MJ practice game? I mean, it just depends. I think the ultimate would be, the ultimate footage, maybe just for any NBA fan. So that's what I'm kind of thinking of in the subconsciously while I'm saying this, is the 92 Dream Team. And maybe not as well too. Maybe the ultimate footage for an NBA fan would actually be, the secret LeBron MJ pickup game that apparently we have no footage of as well too. Of course, you have MJ a little bit older at that time, so it's not necessarily him at the peak of his basketball powers. Not necessarily on a fairness scale, him versus Kobe per se. But regardless, I think that would be those two would be the first two. If you were just like, what found footage would you want to dig up if you were an NBA fan, then it would probably be 92 Dream Team footage and the LeBron basketball camp run that he had with MJ. There was a clip that I saw recently of him asking MJ a question. They were like, had all the the attendees, the campers in a circle, and LeBron was like asking him about like his drive and some stuff like that. But it was like kind of cool, of course, to see the just the old school clips from that moment. It was like, okay, if somebody had the camcorder out then during the question and answer time, during the speech time, then maybe somebody had the camcorder out during the game. Because there's just no way. Like, of course, you know, you ultimately don't know what LeBron is going to become at that moment. But you're not like, wait a second, you know, in the moment, there is still a little bit of the element of, wait, oh, LeBron is playing, you know, MJ. I'm trying to think what the you know, is, because again with the cell phones and stuff, we do have a lot of those footage that would get released as well too. So you would see a lot of clips of potential practice runs that could happen. But if Zion had a practice run, and I guess did he get hurt going into the draft as well too? You know, unfortunately, shout out. But so maybe that specific sort of off season as well, there would have been maybe a little bit limited. But I guess in high school, like if Zion had been in an NBA camp, and maybe LeBron would have been the correlation as well too. And again, obviously, you know, the careers after that moment would have been a little bit different for, you know, the sort of MJ LeBron intersection, with all due respect to Zion. But, you know, if we had that type of basketball camp, the LeBron James Akron basketball camp, and then Zion's there and LeBron's there, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, LeBron and Zion are going to be playing one-on-one? Like, that could be up there with, you know, the fairness level of the high schooler versus professional athlete matchups. And again, that's just credit to LeBron for being in that type of basketball shape, you know, that far down his basketball timeline as well too. But I mean, you know, of course you think of where Zion was at athletically back then. I mean, that would honestly be insane. I was going to say Cooper Flagg, but we do have that. You can go watch that run of him versus Team USA, and that is an early one. I remember, of course, you know, we were talking to Sam after that, and it was just like, wait a second, you know, was he? And you know, it's not like it was Cooper Flagg, you know, playing in like a Team USA select college game where it's like Cooper Flagg versus other amateur superstars. This was like Cooper Flagg versus NBA All-Stars. It was like they're running offense through Cooper Flagg, and he might be the best player out there. I guess that might be a little aggressive to say, but he's making like as good of plays as these guys. And again, he is not even played. He hadn't played for Duke yet at that point, and you know, this was Team USA, so it was like, whoa, this is pretty impressive. I know Cade was looking. I remember, you know, there was a takeaway from Cade in some ways in that performance. I don't know if it was good or bad. You know, we're gonna say if it was good, that he was playing well. We're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why we would necessarily remember the poor performances. That doesn't seem like something we would do, Chat. Hey, yo, I think we like to, of course, focus on the positive here on the REMINGTOM pod. But yeah, I feel like, you know, amongst a bunch of other guys, Cade was a standout guy as well too. Of course, Detroit has started off the season pretty strong, but again, we do have footage of that. And maybe LeBron, you know, and LeBron's always going to be LeBron. And, you know, so like MJ, just because, like we're saying, he's not in the prime, it's still, there's just still that mystique of the Jedi Master versus the upcoming sort of, you know, basketball player as well too. But I think Zion would have, and that is the sort of athleticism, like what is going to happen element as well too. I mean, Cooper Flagg could get a dunk off on somebody. Like, I'm not saying he's not capable of having a crazy sort of highlight moment, but he might, you know, maybe be a little bit more crafty and trying to win the game as well too. I don't know if that factors into it at all, but you're just like, oh man, you know, Zion versus LeBron would be crazy. I'm trying to think if Steph had a moment like that at one of his camps, or, you know, could he have a moment like that at one of his camps as well too? I don't know if he's had it for, you know, this cycle where he would potentially have any of these guys, you know, Dimbasta, Boozer, Caleb Wilson, who are the other guys that were not thinking? Oh, you know, Peterson, you know, speaking of literally a guard, that would probably be there as well too. Like, that would be crazy. That would be crazy, especially considering how well Peterson's playing. But I guess Peterson is already in college, and we're considering the high school element. So we'd have to go back and look, or, you know, the AAU amateur element as well too. We'd have to go back and look and see if Peterson was in attendance at one of those camps, and if, you know, Steph was out there playing pickup with the guys, and if there's like a Peterson versus a Steph Curry moment. But, you know, as much as this would us be, you know, again, kind of looking back and seeing who the hyped prospects are/were, and then, oh yeah, that was actually a cool moment. Not in the moment being like, you know, this is the next face of the NBA, and he's potentially going to be matched up against the old face of the NBA in this secret pickup run in this basketball camp somewhere. So I guess if we were continuing with the sort of Zion correlations of it all, he was one of those guys. It's like, oh man, and we're not trying to necessarily, make a, be too dramatic here with how Zion's career is played out or blah blah blah. We're just saying, it's a credit to, of course, how captivating his athleticism and play style was, when it's at its best. But when it is, he's one of those guys you're like, could he actually be the face of the league? And of course that, like we're saying, sort of intersection game would have been, I don't know if that's a pause or not, but that would have been potentially fun to see as well too. But there is something to the mystery element of it. Like, as much as I would want to see the LeBron MJ highlights, like, I don't know. Again, there is also the fact that MJ was old. Is he just going to get cooked by LeBron, a young LeBron? Yeah, I don't know if I'd be, we're not necessarily like MJ religious over here, where we would have to, like, oh, can we get an eye transplant so we never have seen MJ just get cooked by LeBron? We're not going to go to that level. I would skip Bayless, be like, can I switch eyes with somebody, because I can't unsee this LeBron versus MJ. I want to be able to do the pod without having seen LeBron just cook MJ at 40 years old. It is what it is. But you'd still want, just in theory, for that game kind of to be, I guess, like a, and maybe the best version of it is actually Denzel versus his kid, the player who will not be named on this pod for some reasons, but Denzel versus his son opponent in He Got Game is obviously the best version of it. Not an NBA player, but the passing of the torch guy that is not a pro level age whatever type of guy anymore, going up against the guy who is, and the underdog ability of that matchup. And again, I think it's because we all, even though MJ could in that moment technically be the quote unquote better legacy player, the advantage is still going to be for LeBron athletically, and you're going to assume that if he is able to maximize that he could win the game. So you do kind of, I think, want that Denzel element where he goes out there on LeBron and kind of gets the first, couple off on him, pause. Like, I don't know if, again, we're not necessarily saying that we want MJ to go out there and dominate the game. And, for us, whoever wins. It is what it is. I guess it's just the greatness of either guy. But I think that would be the fun pressure to put on, obviously an athletically advantaged LeBron back then as well. And to some, you could say any, peak LeBron, like 2019 bubble championship LeBron versus MJ. Like, LeBron could just be, driving to the lane, unstoppable, bowling over MJ every time. Like, there could be that matchup at any point in his career. But at the definite age discrepancies at that point, you would imagine. But we'd have to go back and double check. Again, we're kind of putting MJ on LeBron's timeline here, where it's like, oh, did MJ play until he was 45 and now he's all of a sudden, 52 in this NBA camp with LeBron? Like, he might have been 37. And, I guess no disrespect. Well, yeah, he might have been 37 when he retired. But, he might have actually been like 41, 42 when he was in that camp. So that would be like Zion in high school now playing LeBron. I guess, the Peterson, Curry's comps would be a little bit comparable. I guess Curry's like 37, 38 at this point. Boozer with 27 tonight as well too. So maybe Boozer versus LeBron is comparable. Dembasta or Caleb Wilson, any one of those guys as well too, just from a timeline sort of separation standpoint. But yeah, we've got 2 minutes left in this game and Duke is up by 3, and the next game to tip off is North Carolina versus Kentucky. So I guess North Carolina 16, Kentucky 18. We've got a non-top 15 matchup, but I mean, that's, about as high level of, well, I mean, literally with them being it's like 16, 17, 18, but, about as high level as, a non-top level matchup as you can get. Hey, if we can put it in the correct tier of games, I guess it is what it is. But it'll be fun to sit down and I think take a couple minutes to watch some Caleb Williams possessions. Caleb Williams, who are we watching? Caleb Wilson possessions. And here, I guess we can double check the Kentucky guys as well too. No disrespect to Florida, to Condon, and to Thomas Haw, but, and actually we shouldn't say that we know where they're gonna rank on our draft boards, because that would be unfair. That would be inappropriate. And, that's not how we want to operate here. So we will, I guess, we will correct ourselves, and we will say that they will have as fair of a chance as anybody, as they should. Oh, and Amit as well, too, is the guy I was forgetting. I was trying to remember who the other guy was. If we could snap our fingers a couple times and remember the names. And Mikael Brown Jr. as well, too. But, yeah, Cam Boozer has now officially moved up into the number 1 draft pick role on Tankathon, with Peterson at the number 2. I guess that's just Peterson being injured as well, too. His per 36 here is still off a 2-game sample size. So Boozer, as the season starts to build, and, again, we're still only 8-10 games into the year at this point, but, there is starting to be a level of not, again, it's already legit, but it's like, yes, there is a level of establishing-ness that is happening a little bit more than, as unfair, or whatever you want to say. Of course, a guy that has played 2 games, in our hot take opinion. I don't know if we needed to, break it down like that. But if you have to measure 8 games versus 2 games, 8 games is a bigger sample size. So I don't know, pause. But, yeah, Cam Boozer, and, maybe a little more versatility as well, too. I don't know if you just kind of prioritize the wing characters. It is what it is. But that's why we got to give, Thomas Ha a chance as well. Is he at the free throw line right now? I don't even know if we can keep all that straight. But, yeah, we need to double check the other UNC and then potential Kentucky guys as well, too. Jaden Quintance for Kentucky is number 16 right now on the Tankathon board. 1 spot behind Thomas Ha, who is top 15. Of course, our guy Lendenborg at 14. Shout out. They get a couple other, Isaiah Evans as well, too. Caden Boozer, shout out for Duke, but Isaiah Evans also at 27. People sleeping on him. Nicholas Kaminia at 38. So, Henry Vassar, the 7-foot center for North Carolina, is their other major draft prospect guy, I guess, as well, too. Otega Owe, 6'5". Is he I guess, is this our every celebrity / person with the same name has to be related type of take? But Owe for the Ravens, could it be is there a relation there? Who knows? But if it was, imagine like a shooting guard related to a defensive end. I don't know. I could just, for some reason, that would be I feel like a fun potential type of player if there was some crossover talent there as well, some crossover play style. But yeah, both teams with, I guess, just 2 guys here in the top. Oh, what he's got, 60? I always thought he was going to do a top 100, but I guess that's just for the NFL. Only 60 picks, so only 60 spots on the board. It is what it is. But we got 2 guys for each in the top 60, North Carolina, Kentucky, which is actually starting up, but we've still got 30 seconds left for Florida Duke, and Florida has a 2-point lead. Oh, Duke, potential for the first loss here of the year. Florida's 15. At the end of the day, this is one of these look back and be like, oh yeah, this is actually how good Duke was, that this was one of their only losses on the year. It, of course, could continue to establish Florida as a top-end legit team. They do have 2 losses on the year. Are they... They're not 5-2. They're 8-2. 6-2? They have... Duke's 8-0. So has Florida played 2 more games than Duke at this point in the year? But, so maybe they have a little bit more tendency to be inconsistent than Duke. Who knows? Maybe a little bit harder schedule if we looked at all of their games as well. But, yeah, at 15, of course, that they are a legit team still. The stacked roster is still probably there. But, yeah, Duke down 2 does have the inbound here with 31 seconds left. We got Boozer on the inbound. So I assume are they going to run the play for the inbounder? Try to, the sneaky guy people, they say, forget about on the play. Just a little pick and roll back to the guy popping out for 3, and he gets it to go. Hey, yo, money, easy shot, chat. 1-point lead for Duke. Florida, are they going to take the last shot? 10 seconds. They double. Thomas Haw, chat. Oh, he gets stuck on the perimeter. The pick and roll. Thomas Haw's open. Oh, Florida turns it over. Duke with the ball pressure on the pick and roll. They force the pick and roll ball handler to the sideline. They gets a little loose with the dribble. Throws it back. Pause. All of a sudden it's a turnover. Duke timeout. Oh, chat, they can still maybe foul really quick, but this is, pretty down bad at this point. Yeah, good defense, but also, getting a little loose with the handle there as well, too. But the clutch three-pointer on the other end for sure by the guy just popping out there. But nothing too crazy, they just kind of ran Boozer off a screen and then just ran another pick and pop after that. And all of a sudden the guy was open for 3. But, you start running some simple stuff for that, the inbounder guy, like we were saying. You can sometimes just confuse the defense based on that as well, too. So Florida does get the foul. A second left. Is Duke even in the bonus? I don't even know if Duke's going to the free throw line. This might be the one that puts him in the bonus. I don't know if we can see the foul situation from here with the graphic. We would guess an 8. If it was a doctor quiz, we would say it's an 8. But it could be a 6 as well, too. And I guess they are in the bonus now, technically, if this one holds up. So they will get the free throws, which is what you want from Florida. You don't have time to foul again with a second left, but still gives you an opportunity for at least a miracle shot. 2 free throws, you can get that 3-point lead. 1 second, I guess Florida could get a rebound and call a timeout. If you were trying to do like an intentional miss to run the clock in some weird way on that second one. But that full court heave could, of course, win the game. As unlikely as it could be, you don't want to give yourself an opportunity for it. But that full court heave could, of course, win you the game if they do get the rebound there. But they do, it looks like, have a timeout as well. So I don't know if they can advance the basketball into the front court with that one if they take a timeout real quick. But you do that, you're still like 0.7 seconds left. And again, 1 second left on a miss off a free throw. Are you going to have time to potentially corral it and try to get, what is a good look for a full court shot? But, can you just get set enough to throw a competent full court shot off of rebound in a second? Ooh, they do add time. They add time. A minute. Hey, they didn't run that much clock off. Pause. 1.9 seconds. So almost 2 seconds in total left in the game for Florida. Doubling the amount of time Florida has to work with is nothing. Oh, he misses the first. So that's where that becomes a big deal, because if you have 0.4 seconds run off, and again, obviously we're dealing with literally fractions of a second here, but it is what it is. That's an entire shot attempt, basically. You need that 0.3 to get the legal shot attempt off. But, or, the legal tip-in attempt off, whatever, pause, but, hey, yo. But, yeah, if you add that extra, of course, 0.9, that's basically a free rebound. And then you have time to call it, take a timeout, and still have enough time for maybe even a dribble on the, on the other end. But a full second and a half now compared to, again, you would have been a second down there. You've been 0.6, 0.5 seconds off of the rebound on the other end, and maybe you're microsecond debating on whether or not do I actually just turn and throw this one full court right afterwards. But, by that point, you don't really have the time to make that decision. So that could be potentially dramatic here for Florida. We'll see. Duke with the 1-point lead. Oh, 67, chat. Hey, yo. Weren't the kids saying something about that a while back? I'm not sure exactly what they were up to there, but I don't know. That number looks familiar for some reason. I don't know. Duke are they trolling us, chat? hey, yo, imagine trolling us like this to not start the year, but, as the national eyes continue to tune in on the sport and as these primetime games, pop up on the schedule and as we watch these, hey, yo, they're like, let's just, troll these people with whatever the score is going to be. So they're going to be inbounding from the backcourt. So it is probably still going to be a half court, full court attempt as well, too. I don't know. I can't tell if they have another timeout left on the graphic. It doesn't look like it. So you wouldn't have time to potentially throw it a past half court and call another timeout, maybe with like a second left at that point. But, oh, it gets tipped on the inbound and Duke steals it. Duke steals it, almost banked in a little heave attempt at the end there. But, hey, every now and then you never, how often does that guy even make a play? Shout out. Not to disrespect against every inbound defender ever. It's just a lot of times, the angle at which you can end up making the pass is there just ends up being a spot there. And I guess, oftentimes as well, too, they tend to keep them from even throwing it in pause. So it'll be more like a 5-second call or something along those lines. But it seems like every time the teams will put in like it's like be like Yao Ming will be the inbound defender this time. It's like, does that ever actually really be more effective than whoever is just the normal position player? But the wingspan that time was an issue, and he was able to get a fingertip on the inbound pass, and all of a sudden, clock starts and the, just the ability to corral that, make a clean attempt as well too becomes way difficult. So shout out the close game there. I don't know who was the favorite, I guess, for that matchup. Duke being the little bit more of a ranked team, I imagine. And I guess they weren't. Oh, they were at home, right? Yeah, they were at home. This wasn't neutral court. It is what it is. SEC Men's Challenge just is, it's just a name for the game. It's not necessarily a whole tournament situation. But what would have been, can we get a ESPN bet here? I guess is ESPN bet still active? I don't even know. Did they shut that down? I thought I saw something about that. We might have to just be relying on FanDuel now at this point. Let's see what we got. Oh, wait, there's still a website. Wikipedia says ESPN bet is an American sports brand. So was I seeing fake news? I guess, we didn't talk about it as a topic. We're just, I guess, researching now to see what is happening. Oh, here we go. ESPN Bet is replaced with The Score Bet. So they're just trying to rebrand, trying to redo what's going on here. Is The Score going to be more captivating than ESPN Bet, I guess? And with barely a whimper, ESPN Bet was taken out behind the woodshed Monday morning and put out of its misery. Oh, no. Replaced with The Score Bet. Users of ESPN Bet product were instructed to update their apps a little after 8 a.m. Eastern. They did so. The ESPN Bet icon was replaced with the Score Bet icon. Outside of that, the color change from mint green to electric blue. The app looks and feels the same. Oh, okay. So it is literally just a rebrand. Goodbye, ESPN Bet. The Score Bet is now live in its place. So wait, am I crazy? Was The Score not like a blog situation as well too? Yeah, The Score. Sports news, NBA, NFL. So yeah, you get the blue, the S, the little yellow underline on the logo. So is this not just what this is? Are they ripping this off or did they merge? Is this always been a offshoot of ESPN? Am I crazy? What would be the point, I guess, of The Score? I guess not to be disrespectful, but I don't know if it had like a grant, it seems like Grantland uninterrupted, all the more than the athletes stuff. Like there's always a specific extra thing that is kind of the center focus of the spin-off extra websites. So not to say that again, The Score wouldn't have that, but I always just thought it was kind of like just another sort of, again, not another sort of sports blog, but another sports blog, I guess. The Score Bet. So wait, we'll see what's going on here, I guess. Yeah, The Score Bet does exist. Formerly ESPN Bet. Huh. What is going on, chat? Is Disney a monopoly? Do they own everything? Very, very interesting. It's looking like it. Penn Entertainment still around. I guess it didn't necessarily say in the article. Oh, wait a second. The rebrand marks the end of what could only be described as a spectacular failure for Penn Entertainment, which had pinned its sports betting hopes on the ESPN name. The partnership announced with great fanfare in 2023 was supposed to be a 10-year, $2 billion deal that would vault Penn into the upper tier of online sports betting operators. Didn't work out that way. Tough sledding. Despite ESPN's massive reach and recognition, ESPN Bet never cracked more than 2.6% of the online sports betting market. That's a rounding error to market leaders FanDuel and DraftKings. Oh, chat, Yahoo. Whoa. The diss track for the ESPN Bet here. When we first announced a partnership with ESPN, we made it clear that we expected to compete for podium position in the space. So they just said, can we be third? Penn CEO Jay Soden said last month during Penn's earnings calls, although we made significant progress in improving our product offering and building cohesion ecosystem with ESPN, we have mutually and amicably agreed to wind down our collaboration. Oh, so I guess they're now partnered with theScore and not ESPN. Hey, so I guess that would make sense. So there's still hope. There's still things that Disney doesn't own. Hey, yo, for Penn, this marks the second failed sports betting partnership in 3 years. Before ESPN Bet, there was Barstool Sportsbook, which Penn bought for $5.51 and sold back to founder Dave Portnoy for $1. In 2023. This all came on the heels of Penn snapping up theScore Bet and theScore itself for $2 billion back in 2021. Whoa. So wait, they bought Barstool for $5.51. I don't know if they bought all of Barstool for $5.51 back then. So if they bought half of it for that, that would be a $2 billion evaluation, would it not? So maybe it's pretty similar. But theScore, I guess, maybe I'm underrating, Chad. I'm underrating theScore. Hey, yo, shout out. This'll be the one. John Levy, who founded theScore, hasn't exactly been a Penn cheerleader lately. Candidly, on recent news, they never respected theScore brand. Oh, chat. Hey, yo, well, we've always respected theScore brand here. Don't check the tapes. We love theScore. It is what it is. So, yeah, shout out John Levy, I guess. Was that his name? John Levy? CEO John Levy. Call in theScore Bet. We're, big fans. Is theScore available on BETSTAMP? That's really all we worry about at this point. Can we compare theScore's odds with the other odds of all of the different sports books on BETSTAMP? Because if that's possible, then hey, it works for us. Oh, and then I guess ESPN just moves into a partnership with DraftKings, which honestly feels like maybe the way it should have been in the past. I guess it makes sense that, again, they would try it as well too, but that just seems kind of like how the businesses would work as well too, that at some point the top stuff would merge together. I guess, again, Penn, well, no, because Penn was trying to fight for pole position. I don't know where Penn was at and some of the other stuff. I guess maybe sort of making them a bigger player overall, because maybe like with the casino and some of the slot stuff, I don't know if they're really successful on that, and that's kind of what's carrying if they're not having success in the sports betting type of stuff. But again, DraftKings, I mean, is literally there with FanDuel. So I know, of course, FanDuel in the ringer, and I guess I don't know what else they're sort of associated with maybe as well too. But DraftKings just getting that notoriety and getting that partnership and those, and just the brands continuing to link up like that just seems like, of course, the way that it would happen in 2025, more so than ESPN just creating an entire new thing. I mean, they've kind of had this with streaming as well too, where it's like, wait a second, is it Disney Plus with the ESPN like section on Disney Plus, or is it ESPN Plus? And it just it's a sports app. It's like, well, sports fans will obviously get the ESPN Plus, and I think sports fans would have gotten ESPN Plus if it would have been good as well too. But it was really basically, no disrespect to the 30 for 30 library, it's a great thing to have, but I don't know if in the all of the streaming service. I guess I have the DVDs as well too. So I'm in a little bit of a different spot where if I were to get rid of a streaming service that had the 30 for 30 library, again, I'm not getting rid of the 30 for 30 library because we haven't minted. So we're good to go. But again, it's maybe ESPN could offer a little bit more in terms of the live viewing as well too. Again, I guess with the cable deals, you get a little you just get a little like what do you have to work around and what do you have to work with in terms of what can you offer. But it would have been nice to maybe have a little bit more access to stuff just via ESPN Plus. It is what it is. But regardless, it also makes sense that ESPN, being a Disney brand, is part of just whatever the greater sort of Disney streaming universe is. And even if sports in Star Wars and Pixar are not necessarily, is Scott Van, what's the similarity between Scott Van Pelt, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and is Obi-Wan Kenobi a bald guy? Is Ben Kenobi maybe a bald guy? Again, I don't know. I want to be disrespectful over here to Scott Van Pelt as well too. But is there anybody who in the Pixar universe looks like Scott Van Pelt? Hey yo, I don't know if we don't have a good enough recollection of all the Pixar characters to know. But again, with all due respect to Scott Van Pelt, but he does seem like the kind of guy that you're like, oh, who's that guy from a Pixar movie? Is that what Scott Van Pelt looks like? So I'm not sure. Again, I just don't. I since I can't think of the Pixar character, then maybe not. But there is a chance. We could Google what Pixar character looks like Scott Van Pelt. I might have to do this on my phone because we need actual results, chat. We need actual results. Shout out to the Bing, but you're on the bench right now. It is what it is. We need a Google AI that'll actually might yield us an answer. What does 6-7 mean? That's what the number one what is result is at this point. What Pixar? I guess it wasn't even what is. It's just what Pixar character are you? Can we do that quiz and try to answer it like we're Scott Van Pelt? I don't know if that's possible. But chat, I don't know if we want to give out any ideas over here, but we could ask ChatGPT how would Scott Van Pelt answer this question and then see if it would take a Pixar personality quiz. I mean, that would be too much. That'd be too much. We're not even going to attempt to do that, at least not live on the air. If we do that in the free time and then pretend like we got these results somehow, then there's nothing you can do about that, I guess. But hey, yo, that would be that would be a lot of steps. A lot of steps. I'm probably not. I don't know if we're willing to take it, but a quick Google search maybe. We'll see which Pixar character looks like Scott Van Pelt, and we'll see. And I guess we could Google the character if there is a similarity. There is no official Pixar character confirmed to look like Scott Van Pelt. The idea of resemblance is generally a matter of public opinion or internet joke, with no single widely agreed on comparison. The topics of his look-alike is a recurring joke among fans and media personalities. Oh, chat, are we just piling on? Hey, yo, it is what it is. They're saying, the Google AI says the Galapagos tortoise. So just a Galapagos tortoise, or is there like a specific Galapagos tortoise? Apparently that's from the Lebitard show. So wait a second. Let me see if I can spell Galapagos tortoise. And apparently this is what the Lebitard show says that Scott Van Pelt looks like. So is there a Pixar Galapagos tortoise? And then maybe that would look like Scott Van Pelt. I don't know. Oh, chat. That's just mean. That's just flat out mean. I don't know if we have a side-by-side of SVP next to a tortoise. It is what it is. But I mean, tortoises are studs. They're up there with, the longest lifespans of any animal. I think you'd have to say, like, shout out like Scott Van Pelt on Sports Center, chat. Just, the longevity, the consistency, shout out. It is obviously impressive. One of the best in the business. One of the best to ever do it. So, maybe there's some positive tortoise comparisons that you can make as well too. Some positive Galapagos tortoise comparisons, but also Professor Farnsworth, Futurama. So that's animated. Not to say that we're anti-animated, but we, like we said before, we don't really watch TV shows. I guess I can't necessarily say now as well too that animated wouldn't be where we would necessarily gravitate to, because there is, oh, chat, this is not bad. This is not bad. He does look a little like Professor Farnsworth. We can see the similarities there. I don't know who's the professor from the Despicable Me movies. I forget what. It's not Professor Nosferatu. It's Professor. It's not Naruto as well. I forget what his name is, but maybe he looks like that guy a little bit as well. But yeah, of course, it's easy, chat. Just a bald guy from an animated show, looks like SVP. Of course. But I guess they're both bald, so they look alike. It is what it is. If he was wearing these glasses in a lab coat, you wouldn't probably not be like, oh wait, why are you dressed up like Professor Farnsworth? It is what it is. So again, I guess we're not trying to be disrespectful. We didn't make this comparison. We're just trying to do research on what the Google AI says. Yeah, apparently there's a whole Reddit thread that we won't click into here, but it just says Scott Van Pelt looks like a 150-year-old Galapagos ... And the picture that they have there is not doing him any favors. I'm not gonna lie. The people on Reddit probably will take the time to find the pictures, and they probably will take time to do the quiz in the voice of Scott Van Pelt as well too. So I feel a little bit bad that we just kind of gave out that idea, because it's not also just for Scott Van Pelt. Like, that could be any celebrity as well too. So not also an idea that maybe we should express. But hey, we've got Kentucky, North Carolina, like we said as well. That game 17-18 as the first half crosses about the halfway point in that. 9:45. We'll take a quick break here and get back into following along with some of the action. Of course, the NBA is still on in the background as well too. So don't go anywhere, chat. We've got more exciting basketball on a Tuesday night. Rem and Sam pod right after this. right, chat, we are back, and the Spurs just happened to be in a fourth quarter battle against the Grizzlies. So, I mean, just for journalistic integrity, we have to throw that one on and, keep on with what's going on. The fourth quarter minutes, the clutch games. I think if we just do the filter on which ones just need to be prioritized, it just so happens at this time. Sometimes San Antonio ends up being the result. It is what it is. Even if Wembanyama is not in the game, even if there are, other games in primetime spots, we still got to keep up with the more important NBA minutes. So we'll keep an eye on that as well, too. But Kentucky, North Carolina is a fun battle as well, too. I mean, we had Duke and Florida in a pretty close game there, pretty step the entire way. Tayshaun Prince, courtside, shout out. I guess, in the stands. 2001 SEC Player of the Year. Shout out. It's always fun when, a guy like that is like, I don't want to say a guy like that, but, you get, 78 or whatever, like Magic Johnson, SEC Player of the Year, of course. Like, yeah, we all know. Like, yes, Magic Johnson was good at basketball. Hey, yo. Guess what? LeBron was the best player in high school. Yeah, big shocker there. He's pretty good in the pros, too. But, obviously Tayshaun Prince was good in the pros, but he was still, and, at times maybe offensively scoring-wise, could still be maybe the best, in a given moment on that Pistons team, but was still ultimately like the, maybe even the fifth guy in that lineup. And, all of those guys provided something, unique to the team as well, too, and it was balanced together perfectly that they had, a really great, successful team there for... they had a good 6-year run, I think, where they were in the conference. Did they make the conference championship 6 years in a row? Is that how many? Like, again, really, really good team. Of course, even won a finals. But Chauncey was the finals MVP. The Wallace twins being the defensive centerpieces of the team. And then, Rasheed offensively, what he could be from, a given time as well, too. And then Rip Hamilton's perimeter game on top of that. So it was a little... the balance of it. Maybe it was a little pyramid-esque where it was sort of Chauncey Billups was the top of the pyramid, then the Wallace twins, and then, I don't know if this is a, pause, but, if we're just talking about an order of importance for the team, Chauncey Billups on top, and then the Wallace twins, and then the next pyramid, the bottom level of the pyramid pause is the Prince Hamilton combo. And again, I don't know if that's fair to any of the guys in the team. We're trying to compliment Tayshaun Prince here, but again, it's looking back, it's not maybe the most obvious name you would remember in NBA history for who won a Conference Player of the Year type award, but shout out. I know it's not just Tayshaun Prince as well too, but just another legendary guy to keep in mind. But speaking of defense, I guess as well, the transition game of the Wildcats has been something to keep an eye on early. You can see him playing at first, like, pull up, who is this? Oh, wait, disconnecting. 3, 2, 1. We should be reestablishing connection here. IT, get the wires crossed back up here and see if we can get fired up again. The signal says we should be good to go. We just need the sign that all is well. I guess we might just assume that we're reconnected and it's going to be slow at informing us that, like I said, we're reconnected. So, yeah, we have to double check. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we are officially back. If not, maybe it's a sign to close out some of these tabs and see what's going on. I guess if you're just joining us and you're wondering why we had Professor Farnsworth up in a tab, you can rewind the live stream and see what is going on there. But 2025 Kentucky Wildcats, let's see what we've got here for the roster. But yeah, number one, we're in college football. I was like, Mark Stoops, speaking of guys coaching both teams, chat, I don't know if Mark Stoops would be one of the guys. We're like, who do we need to coach the college football and basketball team? But Mark Stoops has had, good teams there in Kentucky as well, too. Good players. Will Levis. I mean, didn't Mark Stoops coach Will Levis? I mean, shut up. Oh, it's right. Mark Pope. Is Mark Pope just Mark Stoops? Is it just like an alter ego? And he does actually coached the basketball team as well. So yeah, Denzel Aberdeen. Oh, senior chat. Hey, yo, is that why Tankathon doesn't have him ranked? I don't know if Tankathon's a little ageist at times. Maybe not prioritizing some of the senior players, but he has been incredibly impactful in, like we were saying, early transition opportunities. And even in that one, kind of a semi-fast break opportunity, just the quickness, pump fake, getting to the basket, the snappy decision-making has definitely been there early on. So I do like his slashing abilities. You know, and you can always, the 6'5" guard, of course, as especially we move into 2025, the 6'5" slashing guard, you know, what is sort of the role on the team if you're not an elite scorer or elite defender? But you do see with his athleticism and quickness, who knows, maybe there is a sort of a defensive role that he could provide as well too. Maybe a little slight, just kind of looking at the combine numbers that could potentially be listed here on Sports Reference. But again, we like his energy, and his impact has definitely been there. So we'll keep an eye to see, I guess. Denzel Aberdeen, he's on the list, chat. He is on the list. But yeah, Otega Owe, also, I guess also a senior. So we got, I guess, hey, yeah, we take it back. Maybe we just missed Denzel Aberdeen on the list. It is what it is. But Owe, of course, does have that previous recruiting ranking on his biography here as well too. Even, you know, 72 overall, but still, I guess Aberdeen didn't quite crack the list back in the day. It is what it is. But yeah, I guess the sophomore recruit that they have, and I don't know if this is injury or, you know what, we don't want to just assume, but it doesn't look like he has necessarily gotten minutes as well. So I don't know if we have to do a update search here on what is the potential reason for that. But we can see Kentucky Center still, they have him, I guess, still, you know, we'll say projected as a lottery pick. Oh yeah, here we go. They have it said correctly there, I guess. Shout out. Scores 18 points versus Kansas State, 24-25. Oh, wait, where was it? Arizona State before this? So update, JQ, do we call him JQ? Means to return is right, spins basketball while being introduced. So I guess he's just injured then at this point. Most recent health update sounds promising. So this is from what, 10 days ago? The 22nd? Is that how, you know, week, month math works? I'm not sure, but he was actually live in 2-on-2 drills. The scout team yesterday for the first time ever, Pope added. I almost had a heart attack because I thought he snuck into the drill. Ooh, Pope. Making little jokes there. The talented big man, is antsy to get it back on the work after a stellar freshman season. Was cut short by an ACL injury. Hey, yo, last season the Ohio native averaged 9-7, 9-8 basically, and 2.5 blocks, and shot over 50% from the field. So some Willie Cauley-Stein, 2025 Willie Cauley-Stein type production there in Arizona State last year is definitely encouraging to see. I mean, the defense alone is obviously pretty crazy. So, yeah, definitely would be excited to get him back in the mix. A dominant center prospect as well, too. Could just be, you know, area on the team. Like we're saying, they do seem to have some guards and wings that, you know, we do see favorable there as well. Aberdeen pushing the pace, chat. Is he going to just be on the watch list for, you know, players that we just enjoy for the 2025 season? I don't know if like a slashing combo guard is our favorite type of college basketball player, but, you know, they of course can be pretty fun. I don't know why I was initially just, again, a couple of plays and I'm thinking maybe some Ayo Dosunmu type potential in there, but, you know, hey, yo, check the tapes. We really were, you know, we're pro Ayo Dosunmu on this pod as well. I still believe he's got a little bit more to produce, that maybe he has shown in the NBA. You know, that's crazy. But if he was, I mean, you know, if anybody was on the Thunder, but could he have the AJ Mitchell season in the Thunder? I guess the question is, if AJ Mitchell was on the Bulls, would he be averaging, you know, 16, 17 points a game? I guess with his field goal percentage, you know, it is possible. Not to disrespect, but just saying that maybe that is a little bit more carryover than saying, oh, was he wide open at OKC all the time and 50, 40, 90 club? That's why he's, scoring the way he is. But Spurs 1-point deficit here, 3:45. We were down by like 7 or 8 a couple minutes ago, so it looked like maybe, was Memphis going to close out the fourth quarter a little bit? Oh, Cornette, the block on Zach Edey. Cornette with the matchup on Zach Edey. The one guy that might actually be prepared because he gets to go up against Wembanyama every day in practice. Like Zach Edey, it's like, oh man, you have to guard Zach Edey. Luke Cornette's like, this is actually a day off, no disrespect. It's just, again, Wemby's just this size pause mammoth that you're just like, I can't defend him regardless of what I do. So Zach Edey, I can actually block a shot. This is easy. It's, it's the broomstick sort of factor in there as well too. But yeah, shout out. I guess his defense early on, impactful. Fox, the little free throw line jumper. Now all of a sudden it's just a quick 4-point lead for San Antonio. Timeout at the 2:57 mark for Memphis. So shout out the former clutch player of the year, De'Aaron Fox. His fourth quarter production is definitely going to be something that could be welcomed on this team in later points of the season. But we've got Kentucky 1-point lead. Aberdeen for 3. The confidence is there. He's not able to get that one to go. So I guess we'll need to see maybe the perimeter game. Do we go back and check the percentages? Because we just saw the scoring, rebounding, assisting numbers there. So if we actually pay attention, okay, he's 53% from the field, 38% from 3. So again, 14 points and 9 shots. Been pretty efficient through 7 games. They are 5-2. So I don't know who they ended up dropping these games to. Florida, was there a Florida loss in here? Did the conference play early on? Oh, Michigan State, not good in there. And then Louisville as well, we did see ranked, if I recall. Can we click on that game through here? Oh, we can. Shout out. Let's see if we can get a ranking on Louisville, at least from back then. 12th? So they were ranked below Kentucky at that point. I imagine they've climbed up, and I guess if we get the ad for that game, again, we can confirm what their ranking is, or we can just look that up as well too. Did our guy Aberdeen play? Oh, Aberdeen was the guy that showed up, chat. Aberdeen 26 on the game, 7 rebounds, 4 for 10 from 3. So Louisville, our guy Brown, Mikal Brown 29, Ryan Conwell. I said Ron Conwell. I was just watching The Untouchables. I think that's a character in Elliot Ness's crew. Ron Conwell. Ryan Conwell might still be in the crew as well. But, yeah, he was 24 in the game. That's for sure. And, you have to RIP Sean Connery in The Untouchables. I guess, maybe not, because I guess, just ignore that if you haven't seen it. It is what it is. But if you have, iconic stuff. I don't like to be the movie spoiler guy, so if we're just out here spoiling movies, our bad. But that might be like to be classic territory where you can get that movie spoiled to be like, maybe that'll actually make me watch the movie. I'm kind of in that phase at this point where I almost want, if it's like I'm a borderline, should I watch this movie? I almost want it spoiled. It's just like, okay, just tell me what happens. Then, that sounds entertaining. I'll actually go watch it at this point. That is a good plot twist. I don't need to actually experience it over the course of, how's it supposed to be viewed and what is the actual plot twist summary. How is it actually supposed to work here? I just need a friend to tell me that it's worth, I guess word of mouth is obviously important as well too. But like, I actually want the plot spoiled. Tell me what happens. And then, maybe I'll check this out. This happened with Barbarian. And now I'm forgetting. It's Weapons that is the follow-up for Barbarian, right? There's, of course, several horror movies that were released this year, so now I can't get them all straight. But, I think, and I guess Ari Aster. Is Ari Aster Eddington, or is that Barbarian? Whoever the Barbarian, Weapons creator was, and I know we were, looking at him as well, too, back when we were watching Weapons on the first time React, when it dropped on HBO. But the plot for that, we got spoiled, and I haven't seen that yet, but I was like, oh, maybe I might actually watch it now. It does seem like the twist there could be pretty interesting to check out. But so I guess, if you haven't seen that one yet, it is a twist. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but just as a update, a heads up, there is something different maybe than that movie seems. So again, a plot twist movie is an easy enough sort of pitch in general to get you involved. But yeah, once it was like, and it wasn't like, it was like 70% spoiled. It was like the twist was revealed, but I guess maybe the mechanics and then, maybe some extra details were sort of left out as well too. But it's like, okay, we kind of know, in general what, maybe it's not quite what it seems in some of the ads. But yeah, regardless, I guess, for the Untouchables, is that 87? If we accidentally kind of mini spoiled the Untouchables there, then, it is what it is. But shout out De Palma, chat. Carlito's Way back on Tubi. How does Tubi follow up one of the great months in Tubi history? You get Above the Rim, Set It Off, Belly, both the Bad Boys, all, at the same time. It's a pretty great lineup. It's like, how do you follow that up? Are you going to be able to replenish in the same way? It's like Tubi, right up, next batter, perfect. December, The Dark Knight. Who knew we needed the Dark Knight trilogy on Tubi for December? But I guess it's perfect time of the year. And Carlito's Way? I mean, I guess Carlito's Way just makes up for all the movies that we mentioned as well too. But yeah, regardless, Kentucky here at the half is tied with North Carolina. Spurs up 7, 55 seconds left. I don't want to jinx us, chat, but I sense a closeout. I guess we could just leave it at that, and then if the Grizzlies do turn the tide in the last minute here, we could say, oh, that's what I meant. But I'm thinking now with the Spurs taking control of this game, we could be in good shape. Sideline out of bounds here for the Grizzlies, so we'll see the ATO if this is really able to get them some points. Is that a Cedric Coward play? Cedric Coward, Zach Edey, pick and roll. Back out to, I don't know, Pat Spencer, Cam Spencer. Who are these guys, chat? The Grizzlies are in a little bit of their, guys off the bench phase as well too. I mean, that kind of is what the team is at this point. We shouldn't even just say it's like a phase of the team. It kind of just is what the team is as well. So I don't know if this is a, Ja Morant trade machine time as well. Cam Boozer, 30 points per game over a 3-game span. Duke, the last 20 years, over a 3-game span as well. You wouldn't think like, the craziest stretch of games, but again, the college length of a game and, playing and amount of possessions, it does not necessarily lend itself for 30-point performances as, often, obviously, as the NBA. But it is only Cam Boozer and JJ Redick. So, again, you would say that maybe Peterson, if we were looking at that drafting stuff, why would he have the, not to question it, but what would be a reason, I guess is a better way to phrase it, that he would have the number one pick spot over Cam Boozer. And it would just be, of course, that aspect of ultimately scoring is the most important part of the game, and he's the best scorer in the draft and at a level of efficiency at the guard spot. Maybe a little bit of the Shea impact as well, too, where it's like, if you have this type of player, I mean, obviously, this is as valuable as you can get, just a guy can score this high level, this efficiently. But Cam Boozer is a little bit of that scorer as well, too, and like we're saying, there is a little bit of that forward playmaking, some defensive versatility there as well too. So I can definitely see him continuing to be that number one type pick as well too. So yeah, Louisville, there we go, there's the promo for the game again. Louisville is ranked 6th in the nation at this time, so we'll see. Maybe that Arkansas game swings it back a little bit, but regardless, I guess if we're just talking about the Kentucky matchups, their losses, Louisville's a good team. So having not even watched college basketball, I'm assuming that they're not gonna tumble out of the top 25, but we'll revisit this in a month and see what happens. De'Aaron Fox, the free throw line. Yes, sir. There we go. Okay, we got still a 7-point lead, 30 seconds left. And the Grizzlies still not able to get a good look. Good perimeter defense here by San Antonio. Harrison Barnes, he can't be shook. Was that Jaren Jackson? I mean, I wouldn't say that Jaren Jackson, of course, known for his crossover dribble, but could still get separation on a three-pointer if he needed to. But Harrison Barnes, chat. Lockdown. Kevin Love in the finals. Harrison Barnes right there. Keldon Johnson on the foul. Zach Edey getting thrown around a little bit by Keldon Johnson. The Spurs, chat. The physicality. Hey, yo, playing for Pop. Show him some nasty. Hey, yo. Pop would be proud right there. I think he would. I think Pop would really, really like this Keldon Johnson season. I think he might have been, because of his energy, those types of guys. Not to say that Keldon Johnson, you would put him in necessarily like a Marcus Smart tier, that type of guy, but I think he does have that kind of streak in him where he does provide, a lot of energy on defense and can maybe take a lot of matchups that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think he's qualified for. Again, Marcus Smart got the notoriety of a really good defender, so you would think of him as a guy that can match up against a lot of guys, but maybe he could guard, bigger players as well too, that you would think he would just be outmatched against. Maybe Keldon Johnson is not a lockdown defender that you would think about, but again, he can be a really important wing defender for this team, but maybe offensively gets a little over his skis at times and, can sometimes make a little bit of a silly play every now and then. But his hustle this year has definitely been impactful. And again, he has been, like we've said before, a veteran leader on this team. He's not the most veteran NBA guy on this team, but he is, I think, the longest tenured member of the San Antonio Spurs at this point. So there is just an overall responsibility in the locker room that you see he has taken on as well too. And I'm sure all of the guys that they brought in, there's that general just Spurs culture thing that is gonna be in the mix as well too. But I don't know if is Luke Cornett like Al Horford? Is that necessarily sort of the locker room correlation that you get? Again, not saying from a good guy standpoint, but as like a sort of team leader guy to sort of rally the guys in a moment, but then go out and also make energy plays as well too. Again, he could be that. I'm just saying, I don't know if we've necessarily gotten the reports of, the Luke Cornett locker room speech in Boston. And again, I guess he's directly under sort of Horford's leadership there a lot of the times as well too. But same sort of with Harrison Barnes as well. And again, same thing. Great veteran role player guy, has made big plays time and time again for the team, and just him stepping up has been great leadership. But the actual maybe vocal stuff as well is where I think a guy like Keldon Johnson can definitely strive. And I'm sure again some of the other Spurs leadership has been proud of the way he has handled himself this season. But 18 seconds left, 5-point game. Just like one more foul, 2 more fouls. Don't turn it over. De'Aaron Fox is not going to. Jalen Wells is going to have to foul him. But yeah, the Grizzlies, Jalen Wells, Cedric Howard, they're fine, chat. They're fine. They've got good wing talent there going forward, and they'll be a little bit higher up in the draft than we think. Again, is it still, will they be in that top 5 range? I guess I think they could be getting close. I guess they're 12th right now. 9-12 is a little bit better. A win streak. They've won 3 in a row. So for the tankathon metric, I guess that is, of course, a bad thing. I mean, you have to think again. This website is tankathon. So if they're tracking the tanking, losing is actually a good thing. New Orleans, Atlanta with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Cam Boozer to Atlanta, chat. Ooh, man. Recherche. The league is like, oh, Recherche was not enough. Hey, yo, pause. Shout out to Recherche. He's been a really good player. So that seems like it's, a good win of a pick. It's not a bad pick. But I don't know if you go back and say, because is that the first number 1 overall pick in the Atlanta franchise? Or was that the first since Dominique? I guess here we can check if Dominique was. But he might have been just like a first round pick in general. Not just a first round pick, but, for the team. Just a first round pick overall. Yeah, 3rd. So close. And drafted by the Jazz as well, too. So close, chat. They could have traded. Imagine. Hey, yo. I mean, obviously that would have been a team, but that would have been a team if you would have been able to have Dominique, Karl Malone, and John Stockton. I mean, would Dominique have been the perfect balance for that team? And, I mean, in terms of upping sort of the entertainment value of that team, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know if Spurs fans, obviously, I'm not trying to be harsh to Jazz fans here, but a little more successful than the Jazz. And I guess there's not even a need to say that. Again, they were playing Michael Jordan in the finals and stuff like that. But the sort of course, consistency, maybe over the highlight level production is something that the Stockton-Malone duo is definitely known for. But just throwing Dominique Wilkins into the mix would have been, insane for that element there. And would have, I think his ability to, of course, provide that perimeter element as well, too, from the wing spot would have been, I mean, how would that not have been valuable on that team back then. And his ability as well to go toe-to-toe with those players. I mean, again, speaking of, going up against Jordan, I'm not saying is Dominique the guy that they needed to win, because they also were going against him, specifically in the finals. That would have been the late 90s. So I don't know if, Dominique would have been in the same spot in his career at that point to be a part of that duo in the same way. But maybe it reshapes the Western. Maybe it does reshape the Western Conference in the 80s there, or at least the end of the 80s a little bit. Because again, you still have the Lakers being a team, even in 92, they're facing the Bulls in the finals there. But you do have like the Clyde Blazers getting to the finals a couple of years. Of course, Hakeem in Houston is able to make it to the finals. The Spurs get to the finals in the or not, are making deep playoff runs or in competition there with David Robinson as well too. And that's kind of 80s 90s crossover as well. But that might have just stacked it, of course, in a different way, where it would have been too much. It's difficult to think of a 80s trio from a name value standpoint. Again, once kind of, I guess we have to double check, like, when, because Magic did win the MVP in what, like 87. So I know, again, 92 as well. I guess they have 96 as his last year, but there's a couple years off there as well. So wait, we need to double check like what the Lakers timeline would have been here. I guess, he's of course winning MVPs all the way up until his last season. Of course, the end of his career, a little bit different than, say, like, Larry Bird, maybe, the back injuries and stuff like that. I mean, say what you want about the back injuries for Magic. Again, I think he was, and same with Bird, they were both at the MVP levels kind of all the way through as well too. I mean, even in 95, 96, I guess he was 12th in MVP voting. 32 games. I guess I don't know exactly if that was just sort of honorary as well too. Looking at the box score again, not to be disrespectful, but 14 and a half, 7 assists, 46% of the field. I mean, really good for just like, let me take a couple seasons off and then just rejoin the league after 4 years. But, would he have been the 12th best player in the league that year in 32 games? I don't know if that would have been exactly the case. But hey, if Embiid could win an MVP over Jokic, Chet, I don't even think we need to bring it up. Hey, Embiid was doing just fine. But, there would have been a couple of years here, I guess, where they could have, again, with that level of talent, they could have, of course, competed with anybody. So I guess, they would have gotten Stockton and Malone after the 84-85 season. And then, there would have been at least a couple of seasons of Dominique sticking around. But if that is, if we're thinking about it in the 2020s era, then, him being there requesting the trade before they get to draft those guys, would that have been possible? But even, obviously without Dominique in 87, 88, the 88 playoffs, they go to 7 games against the Lakers that year. The Lakers go on to win the finals. I mean, what a playoffs for the Lakers in 87, 88. I mean, I guess shout out to the Spurs for being the one sweep of the year, 3-0, but 7 games versus the Jazz, 7 games versus the Mavs, and then 7 games versus the Pistons. After 62 wins, I mean, they were just on high mode all year. And that is not, 62 wins and then crush through the playoffs, but just, there's a competitive level that you're playing at in the regular season as well, too. You're not obviously saving a lot in the tank. And not to say that load management, again, would have been, as consistent back then as well. But still, you're playing at a different level. And then, of course, they ran it back the next year, kind of maybe crashed in the finals, though, to the Pistons. That year they did get swept, so I don't know where the Sonics as well too. We just left the Sonics out. Peyton and Kemp. But again, having the third guy would have been pretty crazy. Wait a second. So we could just go back to the Jazz team here real quick. I didn't know we were going to do a Dominique, a what if Dominique went to the Jazz part of, that wasn't on the rundown, I guess. But hey, sometimes you just stumble into something and you don't realize, the twists and turns of everything in NBA history as well. But maybe we have to go through the book of basketball. Is that in the what ifs? I guess it's literally sitting right there, right off screen. So we could look through it and see. It feels like that would have to be a crazy what if. I guess we could go through and see. We would have to double check what the trade would be as well too. Lost 0-3 to Golden State. In 89, Malone, Stockton, Eaton, Thurl Bailey, Daryl Griffith. So was Eaton the trade then? Eaton might have been the trade because I think I saw that name in the draft. 82 draft, 72nd overall. So I guess he was in the draft in that he went to the Jazz. I guess we'll see here if he was a part of the trade. I don't know if his transactions are going to be the best way to find out. Drafted by Phoenix and then just redrafted again by Utah. I guess back when that could happen, in some ways that, of course, can happen a little bit. You can enter, of course, the draft process anyways and get that kick-started and then potentially end up back on your college team as well. But the actual, okay, we're going to pick this guy and then he's going to be on the team, that is a little bit different. Okay, what do we have next? Oh, Thunder's Warriors on Peacock. Hey, yo. Or do we just have to commit to the college basketball side of things? I don't know. Hey, yo, chat. The double TV, one remote situation. See if we can get it to work here. Maybe in just a second. It is what it is. So, yeah, wait. We do have to figure out, though, how Dominique Wilkins went from number 3 Utah Jazz to the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, the Atlanta Hawks are not complaining. I mean, you know, obviously the best in the franchise. I'm only questioning just because I don't know everything about history. But even if I don't know everything about NBA history is what I really meant to say specifically. But, even if I don't know everything about NBA history, I would feel like Dominique would still be the best player in the Hawks franchise. I guess, see, now I'm thinking about it. Like, is Bob Pettit better than Dominique Wilkins? See, I don't know. I guess Bob Pettit did win a championship, but, it's Dominique. Like, what are we doing here? Drafted by the Jazz, third. Traded by the Jazz to the Hawks for John Drew and Freeman Williams. Traded by Atlanta, I guess, 12 years later with a first-round pick to the Clippers for Danny Manning. Whoa, that's kind of I don't know if that's a good trade for the Clippers or not. I don't know if Greg Minor was the guy that needed to draft with that pick to make that trade worth it, but he was, Dominique and a first for Danny Manning. Doesn't seem too bad. Again, I don't know exactly where Dominique was at that point, but John Drew and Freeman Williams, shout out. I'm sure very, very great basketball players. 2-time All-Star for John Drew. 81-82, I guess. Here's his season where he went from Utah to Atlanta. He was 18 a game before that. So, I mean, pretty good player, honestly. You can't complain about the stats. That's for sure. He was basically 20 a game. He is 20 a game for his career. Had a couple of 24, 23, 22 seasons, but never really made an all-star team. Never, got on All-NBA as well, too. So, I don't know if that just kind of speaks to his standing, in the greater landscape of the league. And, obviously you can go back and look at how crazy the drafting trades were back then. I mean, yes, they did not have any idea, the proper valuation of the trading stuff. And, obviously they were unhinged. I mean, as much as it is ignorance, I'm sure it was substances. It could have been a combination of a lot of things that led to some of these trades as well, too. But to trade just in general for like an 8-year veteran player who has never quite been an all-star but been pretty good, for a third overall pick, just in general, I get to some years, the third overall pick maybe is not the same again in every draft. But even if we went back to the Ricochet draft, we got Castle fourth in that draft. He might be the best player. Was Reed Shepherd the third pick in that draft? So even if you reshuffle it and say Ricochet is like a third overall pick, like Ricochet, I guess he's not Dominique Wilkins. Maybe Ricochet is the guy that gets traded for Dominique. I don't know. I can see Ricochet being that similar numbers, but that'd still be a good career. Shout out. But so Ricochet in 8 years, and then Ricochet. I guess Kevin Huerter's not still there, but. Ricochet and Kevin Huerter for the third overall pick in the draft. That ends up being, so we don't even, can we double check Dominique's college numbers here? Again, I guess we're just saying we're giving Atlanta or Utah some credit maybe he was Richerche, but he was 23 a game as a sophomore, 21 a game as a senior, 50% from the field all of the years. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I get the international numbers are a little bit different sometimes with the prospects, but, you know, still there is obviously a legit thing there in college. I mean, obviously, again, got drafted number 3 overall. But, yeah, that would have been crazy. And, I mean, just even Stockton alone. I mean, you know, Stockton alone? Did I say Stockton alone? Even Stockton alone would have been amazing with Dominic to play with, just having that great of a point guard to set him up. I know that he played with really talented players in Atlanta. I don't know exactly what his best team would have been. I guess what year would he have played the most playoff games here? Not to say that would have necessarily directly correlated to the best team, but 87-88, he was 12 playoff games. And, you know, he was a little light in terms of the amount of series won. You know, you see he's competitive in his series. It's not like, you know, I think 3 games. I guess they were playing, 3-game series? Maybe they were just playing 3-game series, 5-game series back then. We'd have to double check that as well. But, I mean, you know the history, of course, of them, or just the legend, I guess, of him battling Bird, and they're having playoff showdowns, you know, him scoring point to point with Bird. So, again, having other guys to kind of course, help pick up the slack as well, too. But then just to think about how on the court that they would be able to complement him would be pretty crazy. And I guess, you know, we're kind of talking like he's the best player on the team, but there would be, or the best player on that team, you know, with Stockton in Malone. But there's no evidence to say that he was, if he was with them, you know, he might, I guess, you know, Malone again was so good at scoring as well, too. Just consistent, consistent greatness, but the just high level athletic ability with a point guard like Stockton, I don't know if he would be able to get to crazy levels. 30 a game, so maybe again his top level scoring, I don't know what Malone's most points per game were, and I'm thinking a little bit more kind of like in the Duncan factor, a little bit more older Malone versus, you know, maybe the peak of his powers kind of athletic Malone as well too. But yeah, 30 a game, 6th in MVP voting. Doc Rivers, Randy Whitman, Kevin Willis, Cliff Levingston, Tree Rollins. So, I mean, shout out, but I'm sure the Jazz teams would have been a little bit more stacked. So, John Drew and Freeman Williams, though. I mean, they could have helped out for a title run. Who knows? But we'll take one more quick break just to reset the TVs here. We're struggling to line the remotes up right. So, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, chat. Okay, we are back a couple minutes away from Thunder Warriors, which I guess would be the next primetime NBA game on the slate, the nightcap for the NBA schedule. But we got the little second half here of Kentucky versus North Carolina. We'll see, I guess, if we end up getting to the end of this game or not here on the live stream. But, it's really for Thunder's Warriors more, of course, how long can the Warriors just hang with the Thunder at this point, because of course their regular season dominance has completely been established in a very similar way that the Warriors was when they had their win streak of that initial season of, oh yeah, wait a second, this team is that team, are they? Yeah, no, okay, and yeah, all of a sudden they're winning the title. And it's like, yeah, of course they were that team. They were dominant every step of the way. I don't know why we doubted them. And they go out the next season, and that dominance just becomes clearer than ever as, they win every game that they play in. And, ultimately, like that Warriors team, they were able to break the record. They did have, of course, to fight to the end of the season to get there. It's not like, they got the record and then rested everybody the last three and then dropped three in a row. They had to break the record the last night of the season, and, rest in peace Kobe as well, too. He was able, he had that legendary last game the same night, and it was like, wait a second, this is actually a more historic thing than somehow the Warriors breaking the regular season win record as well. And then also the fact that actually did kind of age well, because if the Warriors had won the title, I guess the title win would have been the most impressive thing. And then the fact that the Warriors didn't win the title, it's like that's also not the most impressive thing, because I guess the way the Cavs won the title was the most impressive thing. But regardless, it's not like we needed necessarily to remember that game specifically for the Warriors getting the win. So regardless, are the Thunder going to be, are they going to lose 5 games this year? Like, are they going to dramatically get past the win record? I mean, they really might. I don't know, again, at what point in the season is it going to be like, okay, they're going to not break the win record, or they're going to only get that sort of, again, 1 win increase that we've seen at the Warriors, I guess, doing it with the Bulls. But there is sort of still that last, I guess, historic element that I am wondering about as well, too, where again, the landscape of the league, you can only play who you're playing at a given time. So it's not to their discredit that they're winning all of these games. But I see these posts where it's the Thunder lineup versus these all-time lineups, and I still don't quite mentally put them over those all-time lineups. And I don't think that's still quite rude, because again, the all-time lineups, there is just, they're all-time lineups for a reason. There's a multi-season dominance that they have that the Thunder are achieving, and I'm not saying they're not on their way to getting there. I'm just saying, do I put them there yet? Pause. But again, it is basically the legacy of it at this point, because if the question is ever in the post, like, oh, who would win a game? Like, what's the better matchup? Again, I could still go with the legacy guys just to pay respect to the legends. And, obviously it's not a bad bet as well, too. But with this Thunder team, of course, you get the matchups across the board as to how they could play against all of the different types of teams. And maybe historically the center spot would be a little bit, where they could be susceptible. Hartenstein's obviously a great defender, and he's been a great add for this team in, again, the landscape of the league. But if you have to start going, okay, well, wait a second, now they're playing early 2000s Lakers, and yes, could Shea kind of neutralize Kobe potentially, points-wise? That's possible. Jalen Williams actually might be a matchup problem for the Lakers with the wings. I don't know if they have a wing that could score with Jalen Williams, and of course he's a defender as well too. But yes, Shaq is going to destroy Chet, and he's going to destroy Hartenstein, and he's going to destroy everybody, because that's what he did in his NBA career. There was some ones with Hakeem where it was Hakeem and the Thunder team, and it was like, wait a second, Chet's going to have to guard Hakeem. Like, I kind of think that Hakeem is going to cook in this matchup, because Hakeem was just cooking everybody. So, I mean, Chet's just going to be part of everybody. It is what it is. But the all-time Thunder team, of course, like we've said before, is a scary team now with Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Shea, and maybe they would still, Perkins. I don't know who the all-time Thunder center is. Nick Collison, Steven Adams, Durant. Maybe you're playing small ball. Durant or Ibaka at the 5, Durant, and then Harden, Westbrook, and Shea as your kind of 1, 2, and 3 there. play athletic, a little bit small, 3-guard lineup. But I mean, those guys could match up against anybody in NBA history. They could score with almost that could be amongst literally that could be the most lethal scoring lineup, all-time lineup. Now that you think about it, Westbrook, Harden, Durant. I don't even know what the right order to name these guys in as well too from a scoring standpoint is. It might be Shea first on. Well, I guess Durant just from bucket getting standpoint, but individual season, maybe Shea has the highest number at this point, but Durant, Shea, Harden, Westbrook as your 4 bucket getters. Like, is there a better 4 offensive players that a team could throw out there in NBA history? I guess, like we're saying, maybe a little bit different than the perimeter element if you're the Lakers and you're talking Kareem, Shaq, as front court guys, center, post oriented, and then kind of with Kobe and probably who would be your other scorer as well too? Would it be LeBron, Lakers LeBron? Would it be Lakers Davis even? I don't know. I guess it would be Luka. At this point, it would be Lakers Luka. Hey, I don't know if Luka has quite made the all-time lineup, but just from, again, a talent standpoint, scoring the basketball, Luka, Kobe, Shaq, and Kareem, that's pretty scary, but Kareem and Shaq are going to cook that Thunder's team. So, again, there's still some elements there where I don't know if I'm just trying to make peace with this team, going to be dominating all of our teams. It's like, well, the Spurs, I guess, it's not the Bulls, so maybe the Spurs can get the win. I don't know what the mental correlation is there. But I still think from an all-time standpoint, there is a little bit of hesitancy from a matchup standpoint. And I guess, we compared their rise to the Warriors as well, too. And, of course, once the Warriors got Durant, I don't know what the Thunder adding a player. I guess maybe the Thunder adding Giannis. We don't want to necessarily speak that into existence, but maybe that's sort of the Durant, the modern day Durant happening thing that could really tilt the power, the balance of the league. But with that Warriors team, because of the 3-point shooting element, even before Durant, and Durant pushed it over the top as a matchup standpoint there historically. But even before Durant, you just go matchup wise. It's a very, of course, difficult team to defend, and the Steph Curry gravity that he's going to provide, and then where Klay Thompson was at the peak of his powers back then. I mean, you can't forget how dangerous he was as a player. Those guys that team could have played against any team in NBA history, and I could think, okay, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult matchup. Draymond versus Hakeem, like, what do you do there? You're just going to have to live with your performances. It is what it is. But I don't know, like the 25 Thunder team that won the finals versus the 15 Warriors team that lost the finals. I don't know if you get the Warriors performance in the finals in this matchup against the Thunder, because then the Thunder probably end up winning the finals. But that is that's a crazy series. So I do get, again, the mental toughness, if that's the right way to say it. Like, it is difficult to go through the matchups and not I'm saying pick the Thunder every time, but not see how the Thunder could be right there competing or even, get the win in a given scenario. Again, you start going 7-game series, like, what's the stipulation? Every team's all-time team, and then we're playing an 82-game season with 7-game series on top of that. Like, okay, we'd have to really sit down and do a ChatGPT simulation. I don't know, maybe December, maybe we have to do that, chat. Hey, maybe we have to do a 25 for 25 bracket. Ooh, we might be cooking up ideas live on the pod. If it's a 25 for 25 bracket and we have to have 25 teams, what 7 all-time or the last 25 years, what 7 teams get left off? I guess would be the question. I was going to say maybe some of the relocation teams. Like, do we have to, like, RIP the guys that played for the Sonics and just say, like, oh, they don't get a team? Like, that wouldn't be fair. But do we just consider them with the Thunder guys in the all-time team? But also, well, I guess I was going to say also the Thunder guys would be all the guys. But, if we're mixing the Sonics in there, then you got to put Ray Allen on that team as well, too. So, I mean, hey, chat. Like, we've got... I guess, do we take Ibaka? If we've got the all-time Sonics lineup, then of course we can get the 90s in the mix, and then you can have Ray Allen on a team with Peyton and Kemp and those guys, and I guess, going backwards, as well too, into the 70s. I guess I don't know why. Why am I blanking on guys that played in the 70s for the Sonics, chat? I don't know. Why don't I have 70s basketball just totally memorized like that? But they were in the finals there for a while. Oh, wait a second. Like Dennis Johnson played for the Sonics. I don't know why I was thinking maybe like the Bucks or something. Yeah, I was what other team that wears green that maybe he was playing for. I guess he played for the Boston, of course, later on. But yeah, I was trying to conjure up what team those were that was in the finals against the Warriors there. And maybe I was thinking, was it Warriors Bullets that were matching up as well too? Maybe Sonics Bullets played a little bit. You know, all those sort of late 70s teams. Kind of in the mix there for titles at the end. But yeah, Dennis Johnson as well too, with Ray Allen, with Gary Payton. That's a scary all-time team. You know, they wouldn't quite be, of course, in the 25 for 25 bracket because, you know, Dennis Johnson and Gary Payton and Sean Kemp don't qualify. Sean Kemp and Gary Payton did play into the 2000s, but I don't think we get the 2000s versions of them in any of the all-time lineups, unfortunately. But that's a scary all-time team as well too. And then just, you know, the underrated talent of that we're saying, that finals winning team is definitely something that you have to consider. But yeah, maybe stay tuned, chat. Maybe stay tuned for who has the best team of the. I guess we probably already kind of know who's gonna win the bracket if it's the all-time teams 2025. But again, maybe the all-time. It's not the best year of a given team. So it's not, like we were saying, it's not the 25 Thunder versus the 2017 Warriors. You know, it's the all-time Thunder over the past 25 years, best guys over the past 25 years versus the best guys on the Warriors. So I guess the question would be, you know, with the modern NBA, how does the player movement work for this bracket? Because we're going to have 4 different versions of Durant in this bracket. We're going to have 7 different versions of LeBron in this bracket. I guess, you know, he went back to a team a couple of times. So we're going to have LeBron's going to be on an all 25 for 25 Cleveland team, an all 25 for 25 Miami team, and an all 25 for 25 Lakers team. Ooh, see, we might have to start making rules there about maybe it's just one guy per team, you know, or one team per player, and then we have to pick which team is associated with that player. Of course, LeBron and Durant might be the 2 most interesting cases. I think if we're picking LeBron, I guess it depends on if we want to build the most competitive team with LeBron, or do we want to, you know, put LeBron on the right sort of legacy moment, because that could be interesting. You know, if we want to get really technical and put him on like the all-time, you know, is he one of the best Lakers? Is he one of the best 5 Lakers in the last 25 years? Like, you know what, hot take, he probably is. You know, he won them a title. He's a finals MVP. So the last 25 years, is LeBron James one of the 5? Is he in the starting lineup for all times Lakers last time? Probably. But if we had to pick one team to associate him with, would it be the Lakers? Obviously, probably not. But again, if we want to put him in the best lineup, and then we have him with Shaq and Kobe, and then, you know, we got to figure out maybe where some of the guys on the Lakers teams just in general go as well too. Do we get Davis in this lineup? Davis could be the 5th most talented Laker in the last 25 years as well too. I think that could legitimately be a case. You know, I don't want to start doing the bit now if it is something that we want to get into, but just thinking of, you know, early preliminary thoughts, because I guess, hey, yo, if we're gonna have to sit down and think about the all-time lineups for 32 teams, you know, we could take a couple minutes to maybe preview what a couple of those lineups could be, because that's gonna be a couple shifts at work. But, you know, just the idea of if it's a slow start to the shift, and now all of a sudden I can just sit there and scribble down what a couple of, you know, let me think about what the all-time Pistons lineup could be. You know, I think I'm locked in, chat. I mean, I'll be the best couple of shifts that I'd be like, you know, why is Rem in such a good mood at work all of a sudden? Wait a second, why is this say, you know, the best Jazz players from the 25 years? What's going on there? The work iPads are going to be back on the Basketball Reference. Make no mistake. But Kentucky versus UNC turned into a little bit of a defensive battle. So no points for, did they say the Wildcats over the last couple of minutes here? But UNC still not quite able to capture the lead. So I guess some free throws by Kentucky still helping them. I guess no points, no field goals should have been the proper way to say that. Maybe it's just, you know, North Carolina is only fouling as well too. That could be part of the equation. But 10:45 left. Kentucky with a 3-point lead. We'll see. They go 2-possession lead here. If they make this free throw, start seeing maybe a little light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. A 4-point game with 11 minutes left, of course, is still anybody's ball game. But feels like it's been kind of a one-score game here for a majority of it. So maybe just a little bit of a mental break there would be nice. And they do get the 4-point lead. So technically 2. So now I guess we're going to get a 4-point play to prove me wrong here. Aberdeen is being a little aggressive on the oh, and he does get the steal as well too. Shout out. So the point guard did take advantage of his aggression pause and go on the back cut, try to get to the basket, but the wingspan and the quickness, and Aberdeen was able to recover. So I don't know if that's like an NFL quarterback situation where it's like, oh, an NBA point guard is going to put that pass on the money. You know, I don't know if that's the thing that we say with NBA point guards now, but, you know, just an NBA player would put that pass on the money. I mean, obviously Jokic would because he's Jokic, but just, you know, the standard sort of, would they find a way to get that pass to go? You know, I feel like the recovery and the deflection on that was good by Aberdeen, and like we're saying, maybe could prove his two-way usefulness here in some of the projection stuff as well, because DeSumo is like the perfect second round type of guy. I guess Jokic is the second perfect round type of guy. You know, you draft a guy 42nd overall, he becomes one of the 7 best players of all time. Like, that is probably how you'd want it to work out. But otherwise, you know, choosing other alternate paths, Ayo DeSumo, chat. He can be Jokic, he can be Draymond Green, he can be Ayo DeSumo. Like, there is a little bit of a range, but all 3 are impact players. And DeSumo could be on the Warriors as well too. If the Bulls weren't winning some regular season games, you know, over the course of the year here, they would maybe look to, you know, maybe make some trades. But the 500 range is the threshold for them. So even if they're 500 and it's like we have potential, it's like, okay, that's fine, I guess. You know, as long as we're 500. But if they have 500 and they're, you know, it's like, how do we fix this team? What do we do? We're going nowhere. It also doesn't matter because, again, they're 500. So just every year, can we get to the mark? It doesn't really matter how. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. Can we stay below the tax? Can we get to 500 and stay below the tax? Because it's like, hey, we can actually kind of build this team, but we just lost a couple more games than we should, and you know, what do you do? It happens. Or, you know, hey, we're a young team, but look at all these games we won. We're 500. Like Matas winning 500 is actually not bad. Is Matas one of the 20? Is he one of the 5 best Bulls from the last 25 years? Hey, yo, how many seasons does he have to have? Obviously, the Bulls last 25 years, and yes, they did have a real flash in the pan moment there with Derrick Rose. But speaking of the owners, I mean, holy cow, that could be a sneaky left off team. Like, Chicago could be a sneaky left off team because the Bulls might be. Maybe that's a rule, Chad. Thinking about a rule, maybe that's a rule. If your all-time team just ends up being a lineup of an individual team, you're not qualified because it just means that team was really good. It means your franchise has probably been bad, but that team was pretty good. That's kind of where Chicago was at. Like, the franchise has been bad since in the last 25 years, but that team was good. Derrick Rose was obviously good. You know, I mean, again, Rose, Butler, and Joakim Noah. Luol Deng, who was the 5th guy in that lineup? I'm trying to remember. I feel like we should. Kirk Heinrich? Was Heinrich still on the team? That's a good start. That's a good 5, Chad. You know, in a given year, that'll go. That 5 will go toe to toe with the Heat. Yes, it will. I still don't know if I'm ever picking it to win a series against the Heat, but they're taking them to 6. They could take them to 6, maybe 5.5. You know, if LeBron really locks in for that game, that could be that 6th win. You know, if he hits a buzzer beater, then yeah, it's 5 games, but otherwise it's 6. You know, that's competitive. Derrick Rose is an MVP. They can go right there. You might even think they're going to win the series at a given time. But, you know, really, really competent, well-rounded all the way around. So maybe Ben Gordon sneaks into that all-time lineup. I don't know. I'm just thinking about that. You know, who do we like to play with in 2K at this point? Because, you know, again, Joakim was there for a little bit more. Butler, just from a name value standpoint, is honestly going to get on the list as well, too. And if we're going with our one guy per team rule, Jimmy Butler's a little bit of a nomad, but I guess he kind of has a landing spot as well, too. So, chat. The LeBron, imagine, chat. Hey, yo, the LeBron landing spot in our all-time 25 for 25 bracket is going to be really, really interesting. Because I guess we could be really nice towards some teams or be really, really mean towards some teams. So would we associate Jimmy Butler with Chicago? because we wouldn't not associate with him with Chicago, and I guess there is a colorway similarity that he's been able to maintain maybe in some of the more iconic cities that he's played in. So I don't know if that helps kind of reinforce the Chicago era as well too. But again, that kind of start for his career in emergence as, wait a second, this guy is, wait a second, he is, I don't remember exactly where he got drafted, but I guess end of the first round. So scrappy draft pick. Oh, he's getting minutes. He's playing. He's an impact starter. Wait, this is like a dude? Oh, this is an all-star? Oh, wait, this is like a guy that can like impact a team. And then, of course, continued to expand his game all the way to, oh, wait, this guy can take a team to the finals at some point, and then maybe even put up a 40-point triple-double in the finals as well. But, yeah, we'd have to, I guess, again, if we're narrowed down to one team, figure out if there would be another case for another team beside the main one that we would probably all think of. But yeah, the Bulls, regardless, I guess, outside of that sort of version of what the lineup would have been, are we being disrespectful to DeMar, to Zach LaVine? Does DeMar and Zach LaVine get the Bulls spot as well too? I think Zach LaVine could. If we maybe could spoil a selection, maybe it would be that one. I think Zach LaVine would, if he was to be considered for an all-time lineup, it would be Chicago. But fortunately for Zach LaVine, he's been on enough teams that he might be considered for any of the teams he's been on. He could be on the Sacramento all-time team in maybe a half a year. He could be on the Minnesota all-time team for the last 25 years. Again, we're talking last 25 years, so not all-time team, but he could be on the Minnesota, we'll say 21st team, just as a way, 21st century is what we mean. Ayo, this is the timestamp for the glossary right here. The 21st team, we'll say, as the all-century team, or maybe we just say the all-century team. But, he could be in the Minnesota all-century team as well, too. You have the early Garnett years in there, and, Towns, Edwards now having some success in the playoffs, getting some conference championships, again, good for the franchise for sure, not to be disrespectful, but you could have, Kevin Love, we're leaving out Kevin Love as well. So you have a smattering of players in there that maybe Zach LaVine gets left off, but if we have to bring in a couple guys off the bench, if we get 8 guys, I think maybe 8 guys. Do we get a 5-person starting lineup? I guess this would be 8 guys, obviously. 5-person starting lineup, 3 people off the bench, but a little bit of versatility, not the commitment to naming out full rosters for everybody, but a little bit of versatility, pay respect to some guys, and maybe if we end up doing the limiting factor, maybe that'll help make it easier to pick 5 as well too. But again, Durant, we'll have to find a team for him. And it's the all-star guys as well too. You have to be able to bounce to teams and be an all-star at multiple levels. James Harden, maybe there's a little bit of a conversation as to where to put James Harden if we're sticking to this rule, because we were considering him in that Thunder all-time lineup as a name to help boost the overall firepower of that. Of course, we were talking about that Thunder Big Three with this current Thunder Big Three. But if he's going to be on a different franchise, then, he's going to be off the mark. And that's another one, thinking about the potential names that could be interesting from a scoring standpoint. So that might honestly be, like a part 1, part 2 situation, chat. Do we do that next week? Can we pull up the schedule here? What does the Rim and Sam schedule say? And maybe we can figure out how to make that work. It's December, year-end time of the year. I guess the quarter century mark end time, if that makes sense. Obviously we start the next quarter century in the new year, 2026. So maybe, we start with the recaps and the rankings next week. Just make it official. I don't know, NFL Week 14, and then we start ranking next Tuesday. We put that on the docket, subscribe, the schedule. Next Tuesday, we start rankings and recaps month for December, or we're in rankings and recaps month, and then we just start officially doing the rankings and the recaps next Tuesday. Might be the move. Hey, yo, chat, I think we've got a plan. I mean, hey, if we really commit and the restaurant's really slow over the next couple of days, then, we can really get these lineups figured out. But the one person per team, of course, would make it really interesting. There's another person with Houston that I was thinking about, hey, yo, pairing him up with Harden could be fun, but he might be a guy that gets, bounced around to a couple of franchises. And even though you wouldn't necessarily think about the player, you wouldn't necessarily think of the early 2000s of being a player empowerment era, but there was, thinking about just, again, how many franchises these guys played for. Not to say that, again, we were talking about Dennis Johnson. Dennis Johnson did play for multiple franchises. If we were sticking to this rule, which lineup does he make? Does he make the all-time Celtics lineup or the all-time Sonics lineup? Of course, if we were going like a 80s decade or, 25 years, what would that be? I guess if we were going 75 to 90, for the all-time teams, he could be in a Celtics all-time team depending on how many guys we get. If it's 70 to 90, of course, that does take out, I think, a lot of the Bill Russell teams. Bill Russell, he might have actually retired in 69. Hey, yo, shout out. Let's see what it was. Yeah, 69. So, of course, like Kuzi was already retired at that point. I don't know if the Jones guys, Sam, Casey, Jones were out of there. So, you still have Heinsohn, I think, maybe around a little bit. Havlicek and Cowens, are able to continue to take over the team. Wait a second. Let's go Tommy, and I don't know. I before E. How do you spell Heinsohn, chat? What is up there? Is Tommy Heinsohn spelled Tommy weird? Is it Tom Heinsohn? Oh, it is Tom Heinsohn. Here we go. 65. So yeah, middle to late 60s decade is when that Celtics dynasty players start to get out of there, and then, like we're saying, Cowens and Havlicek I think would have been your main carryovers as well too. I guess JoJo White won a Finals MVP in there as well, so he would have been a rookie in the 69-70 season, so right during that transition period there. You've got Cowens as a rookie the next year, so you're able to replenish with some pretty good talent right away. And then Havlicek, the 8-year veteran, still at the peak of his powers, a little Tatum-esque maybe right now. I don't know if they're going to get a Havlicek and a Cowens. Is Hugo Gonzalez the next, or JoJo White? I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but nice player for sure. And then you have Havlicek, year 9, year 10, still MVP. Cowan starts to move into MVP conversation. Don Nelson out there, coach, of course, later coach, but playing 25 minutes a game for the Celtics as well too. 56-26, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals with that team. 68 wins the next year, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals as well. And then did they win in 73-74? They did, against Milwaukee and Kareem. So you've got Cowens with Havlicek, JoJo White, Paul Silas, Don Chaney, Don Nelson, Paul Westphal in the mix. So, yeah, you definitely could see, is Dennis Johnson making a lineup over some of these guys? Again, you got guys in the contention for the 75 to 90 team, I guess. Oh, wait, 75 to 90, so these guys aren't even in the mix yet. We don't even get really the best Cowan years as well, too. If we're going, does it have to be the careers of the guys from 79 to 90? That's not the point of the bit, I guess. We got this quarter century currently wrapping up. But, yeah, that's going to be a fun one, chat. We had, of course, some maybe a little more basic rankings figured out, and I don't know if that's necessarily like a genius idea. It's just, maybe a little bit not as basic, and either way we're glad we thought of it. But yeah, we'll still probably end up delving into some of those, because guess what, they're basic for a reason. They love, I guess I say they, I'm part of they. I love being in the conversation of that stuff as well too. So we're definitely gonna go through some lists, chat. It is what it is. December list month on the REMINGTOM pod. But Spotify Rap Day, I mean, is that going to be a day as well, too? I mean, it's just going to be an action-packed month on the REMINGTOM pod. You're not going to want to miss it. It is what it is. You're going to want to stay subscribed for joining the live streams. And, of course, you can find the live streams as well, too, on the podcast platforms. They're available on Spotify and Apple and, any major, but also mid-major as well, too. I think there's a couple of mid-major podcast platforms that we're on. So, hey, even if you're in the, I've got this podcast platform that people are going to make fun of me, I don't even tell. I just tell people I'm on Spotify, but really I'm on this one that nobody's ever heard of, and I'm not even sure how I got signed up there. we're still probably available on there. So you can just, REMINGTOM Pod, find the live streams and see what is going on. Or like I said, of course, if you're listening to this version, you can join us on our YouTube page, REMINGTOM Pod, and we, have the live streams, and that's what this is. And you can hang out with us in the live stream time as well too, if you want to, do it that way. Pause. But hey, we've got 7 minutes left. Kentucky still refuses to score. So do we have to stay on till Kentucky hits the next field goal? When Kentucky hits the next field goal, that is the time when we leave. But they still manage the free throws as well. So I don't know if maybe they re-updated that timestamp. I guess I didn't exactly. I just saw more of what the timestamp, what it was about both times, than the actual detail of what the time was. But the fact they showed it twice makes me believe that they've added to it. I think they're definitely inclined to, show the stats of two great defensive stretches if that's what would happen, in just sort of back-to-back moments of the game. It's like, okay, they went 7 minutes without a basket, then gave up a basket, but now we're in the next 7th minute, then you'd probably be like, okay, well, let's run the graphic again. I guess it is what it is. But, if it's like, wait, we went 7 minutes without scoring, and now we're another 7 minutes, they still haven't scored. You're like, wait a second, what's really going on here? We got to run the graphic again at this point and keep it updated. So, I guess I don't know which one it falls under there, but they miss again. So we're still waiting. And North Carolina hasn't made a basket. We're watching the time this time. 4 minutes ongoing for them. So I don't know what do we add it up? I don't know if that's how basketball works. If it's been 4 minutes since North Carolina hit a shot, but 4 minutes since Kentucky hit a shot, is that 8 minutes? Or is that just 4 minutes? I think it's just 4 minutes. But if we want to make it seem dramatic, then 8 minutes of real or game time would be, I guess, the technical way the scientific way to get around that would be 8 minutes of game time. But is game time just another way for real time? Because of course you say 8 minutes of real time, that's, from 8:30 to 8:38. If you say 8 minutes of game time, that could be that's just 8 minutes off the running clock. But we got still Kentucky at the free throw line, 55 to 50. Not even a layup, not even a transition basket as well too. Like we were mentioning earlier, they were effective in playing fast and getting out into the breaks. It seemed like that could be a little bit of an unstoppable element, to some degree. We should say an effective element for them today, as I think they were top 10 in the nation in fast break points. Maybe 12th. Maybe they were 12th. So we'll say top 15. They were top 15 in the nation in fast break points. But yeah, they get the free throws to go here. So 6-point lead. 5:57 left to go. So this is we should stay on for the rest of the game at this point type of game. But I guess we'll just see how it plays out. The thing is, game, obviously we're gonna, it's a not turn the TV off once the live stream goes away. But it is is game 8 in the season the most important last couple of minutes in the season for do we need our takeaways from this? I think it's fun to see it all in the moment, but maybe there'll be more important things to talk about later in the year when it pertains to their basketball, the basketball season that they are able to have. Pertains, chat, I feel like we've used some good words tonight. I don't know if we have like a good words tracker that somebody has out there, but I feel like we've had a couple of them out there. So, maybe we can go back and rewatch the tapes, write them down, and make sure that we are, still staying consistent with that type of stuff. But the defense on one end, the transition on the other end, finally North Carolina gets a basket to go. So Kentucky still hasn't scored yet, a field goal, but Carolina broke their drought, so it is possible. The ISO by number 5 from Kentucky at the top of the key is not going to make that possible. But the three-pointer on the other end, right off the front of the basket. Oh, it was kind of perfectly right on, but unfortunately just a little short-legged pause and, not quite able to get it crossed. Another 3 by North Carolina. Oh! Maybe they just needed the drought to get back in the mix. but Aberdeen's going to slow it down for Kentucky. I mean, if Aberdeen pick and roll doesn't just get to the basket, get a easy attempt, I mean, what are we doing? It doesn't seem like, oh, there we go. Back to Aberdeen. Weaving through the defense. Gets to the basket. The high floater. Oh, man. Kentucky has just been way off on some of these attempts. Honestly, the really short, accurate the really short three-pointer was the most just straight on accurate that we've gotten so far. But Wilson spinning, driving, effective in, of course, creating contact and being able to make plays through it. But once again, going back to the free throw line, I think after this, we'll see. But the spin adjustment has definitely got the people in the building shook, for sure. So, yeah, back to the free throw line. See if we can get a stat check on him here. I guess, we can manage that ourselves. Chat, I guess. The question is, will they score before the time runs out? At this point, we've got a way behind ESPN pause with some of the updates. UConn versus Kansas has been abandoned. It is what it is. Are they really down to 5 minutes left in the game, or are we still way behind on the updates and not paying attention to what's going on here? Okay, here we go. Actually, the ESPN now, in typical ESPN fashion, a little spoiler, a little sneak peek ahead of what's going on, and it's telling us that nothing has happened in the last couple of seconds. And, I mean, hey, yo, what do you know? It's exactly right. The field goal attempt by Kentucky misses. The layup attempt on the other end by North Carolina ties it up. 3:50 to go. So will they hit a bucket in regulation? Oh, Aberdeen with the timeout. I mean, we got 3 minutes left in this Warriors versus Clippers first quarter. They were taking, the national anthems, announcing the starting lineups, taking their time, getting out onto the court for this one. It's, like a real sort of, I was going to say like a real sort of West Coast thing. I don't even know what that means. But it just was, a real casual stroll into the game for the start of this one. But the Thunder, of course, very aggressive to start. And you would... Oh, chat! Hey, yo! Ah! Oh, no, chat. Is that Are we turned into Charles Barkley here on Inside the NBA? I don't know if we can necessarily say that. Hey, if Charles Barkley yawns on... I was going to say, if Charles Barkley does it on TV, does that mean it's okay? Actually, that's... I think usually if we were talking to a producer, probably would say the complete opposite. It'd probably be like, if Charles Barkley does it on TV, probably don't do it. But I guess if he set the precedent, maybe it's okay to throw a yawn in there. The late night crew every once in a while. But I guess we're technically not the late night crew, them doing the post game in Atlanta, and I guess they're still in the same studio, same location, right? Still in Atlanta. So them doing post game for some of that stuff, late night, the late night hours they're pulling on that show, the consistency of that was pretty impressive. I mean, you don't blame them as well too, again, considering that post game element, and then that's when they would actually do like a full show. That would be because that's the part that was never actually replicated, was actually the show. People wanted to replicate the halftime show, and I get it, because it's, everybody does have a halftime show, so it's like, well, what's the best one? Let's just try to model it after that. And at the end of the day, nobody actually, I know, shout out Bill Simmons has talked about this before as well too, but they never actually modeled it after Inside the NBA, and now they let Inside the NBA be Inside the NBA. So it's like, okay, well, now you let a show actually do that, and it's good. And the chemistry, like, we get all that, but you never actually gave a show that amount of airtime as well too, to be able to do what they do. It is what it is. I get it. Did a show ever earn that much airtime? If we're arguing with an executive, is that what they would say? Probably, for sure. But I guess we wouldn't be arguing with an executive. Ayo, if we were having a civil conversation with an executive, it's getting heated over at that booth where Rem and the ESPN executive are talking. What's going on over there? Talking about these numbers, I guess. But yeah, regardless, either way would be I think a way that could happen. But we'll see, I guess, if, like we said, Kentucky is able to get a bucket here out of the timeout. I mean, if there's ever a moment, are we able to track when the last field goal was. I don't want to spoil anything here on the ESPN. If we want to see something live, you know, is there any, you know, live experience in sports now that can bring you joy, chat? The University of Kentucky breaking like a 7-minute basketball scoring drought could definitely be up there. But yeah, it's, I guess, maybe going to take a little bit more digging. I guess probably should just go to the play-by-play would be the right way to look at it here. Missed, I guess it wouldn't be for all of the second half. Chat, this is going to be a disastrous subbing. Okay, so we'll just follow along and maybe just catch the new one instead of trying to find the old one. Oh, he had a dunk at the basket and he got fouled, and the foul knocked the basketball out of his hand. So no field goal attempt, not even an and one is going to go. He will still get the free throws though, and hey, you'll take them. But yeah, still not the attempts from the field. Yeah, I guess they're going to bold it when they just make a shot in general. So, you know, we'll have to filter through. Free throws, 6 minutes left, so that's 09. Made free throws. Caleb Wilson making free throws. Can we just filter this out? Field goals made by Kentucky and see what happens. Made free throws. We're at the 10-minute mark. Made free throws. Missed layup. Made free throws. Subbing. Made jumper. North Carolina made a jumper there at the 11:31 mark. Made free throws for Kentucky. Made three-point jumper assisted by Denzel Aberdeen. The 13:08 mark? Is this true? It's been over 10 minutes now. It's 13:13 and North Carolina has the ball. So 13:10, 13:09, 3:08. 3:08, 3:05. We're going to be under the 3-minute mark here. And North Carolina gets another dunk. So we've gone 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes and 10 seconds without Kentucky hitting a field goal. They've gone half a half. A whole quarter of a college basketball game without hitting a field goal. They've fortunately, you know, what have had like 20 free throw attempts to keep them in the mix. Is Shea, everybody. Oh! Away! There we go, chat. He gets to the basket, the 2:30 mark left, and North Carolina takes a timeout. Okay. Shout out. Finally, the 10-minute drought is over. That might be a record up there with just, you know, personal watch time for, you know, respectfully, if it's gonna happen to a team, it might as well be at this point in the year before any type of tournament situation. You know, I don't know if Calipari's had some lengthy field goal droughts in some tournament games, but yeah, 10 minutes, chat, is pretty crazy. And again, it's not like they weren't scoring, and some of those attempts were just they're getting fouled instead of an and one opportunity going or something like that. So you can't necessarily say that, or, you know, blame them too much for not producing on offense or whatever in a stretch like that. But just to not see a basket go through the hoop in the, you know, the course of an offensive possession like that is a pretty crazy amount of time. But yeah, now we'll see if that maybe has, you know, sort of changed the course of the game here, where maybe we can actually get a little offensive action pause going back and forth. The North Carolina inbound from the side, and I guess just tonight in general, 7 ties, 11 lead changes. So maybe, you know, again, the free throw competitiveness of it, you know, nobody's been really able to pull away here. But North Carolina, 3-point attempt. North Carolina's offense has gotten going here. And, you know, we'll see if it actually pulls away. But that's got to be 3 out of the last 4 possessions. They've hit a field goal. Hey, yo, 1 for 14 now for Kentucky. They're just going to keep pointing out the fact that it's been poor, I guess, like us. But there we go. North Carolina with another foul. Hey, yo, sends them right back to the line. The double bonus, you know, 2 minutes left. We're getting to the end of the game. So, you know, not like a crazy amount of time left, but they might have been in the double bonus long ago as well too. So I guess we could look as a team here and see what we have for free throw attempts And yeah, we're going to get some makes here with the ESPN keeping us up to date. We got 211 on the screen right now for the free throw attempts there. And the ESPN is giving us 153 in the game. So, typical, of course, not calling out Sling. I'm sure there's some legit reason for it other than buffering. But we are, 10, 15 seconds behind the game time at this point. We got a little drive and, a fumble. A fumble by North Carolina. A foul, though, by Kentucky, though, for the first time in a second. So, 8 for 13 for the Tar Heels from free throw line. Yeah, 15 for 20. 20 free throw attempts by the Wildcats tonight. And we don't necessarily have the breakdown as well, too, of what would be, second half and first half recency of some of those calls. Because, again, it does feel like they've been stacked in a way to help them hang around in this game. But, we've got North Carolina with their free throw attempts now, and they are off the mark. So they are pushing 50% now from the free throw line. I guess that 8 for 13 was probably updated with that already in the mix. Yeah, 62%. So 2/3, is not crazy from a team perspective, but the free throw percentage balance can be fragile at times. And you get another guy who goes up there 50% as well, and you may just end up bringing the, the whole percentage down a little bit. But once again, going to the free throw line, nothing new. I don't know how many guys can. Well, there we go. You got a foul out by Luka Bogdanovic. Hey, I love that every, shout out to our, Eastern European basketball players. But it does seem like every name is just a combination of the same couple names. So, with all due respect, Luka Bogdanovic. Is there a Bojan Doncic somewhere? There probably is. He's probably committed to, I was going to say Arizona, but I don't know if Arizona would get an Eastern European prospect as well. Was Porzingis considering Arizona? I think they might go for they might end up traveling west. Eastern Hemisphere, but travel west for some of the stuff as well, too. But 62-61, the 13th lead change of the game. So just even in the last couple of minutes, like we said, we had 2. They showed that graphic, like we mentioned, of course, a couple of seconds ago. But each team trading back and forth here. Setting up the post, we got a little number 13. Oh, he hit the shimmy. Didn't even put a dribble down. But he hits the cutter. And the defense by Kentucky is able to keep Wilson from making the layup. He did get pretty good position under the basket. The three-pointer by North Carolina not able to go. Back-to-back offensive rebounds, though, by North Carolina. Oh, we just saw this in the game the other night with the offensive rebounds being the killer and not able to close it out. Pause. But once again, this time bouncing back out to the perimeter. Those are the worst ones. You fight for it. You have a lot of hands in there. You lose it. It happens. But if they just don't have guys in rebounding position and they're not boxing out and you're letting a rebound bounce out to the perimeter for to look at there, then that is, I'm not, but maybe something to pay attention to. But 1 point game with 1 minute left. 1:07, that would be, of course, the Kentucky advantage here. So, Golden State versus OKC is going to wander into the second quarter here. And Golden State, they're fighting with them 26-34, but that's not even close enough at this point. They are getting to that point and that is, of course, like we said, we're going to continue to see where they climb the historical level, but that is definitely where they're at right now, where you do need to spot them points. Going later in the game. We need to be up by at least, I don't think you're hey, can we have a 20-point lead halfway through the third quarter? Can we still hopefully close out a game at some point if we're a good team? But you do probably want an 8-9 point lead going into a fourth quarter. Would definitely make you feel way more comfortable versus that team spot yourself a few potential points. Because, of course, they're going to have that great defensive moment to lock in, hit a couple of threes, and just turn the tide of the game. Chet, the top of the key three, not able to to quite get that one to land. And they just updated for the ACC SEC Challenge. ACC up 5-3. So I don't know if that is the stereotype better basketball school, but I think, again, Duke, North Carolina, I think we all know. Oh, step back for North Carolina. Shout out. We're still learning player names, like we say. So we'll be learning, chat. We'll be learning. That was a clean step back, and we have to keep an eye. Another guard, probably play out of position in 2025. It is what it is. But, oh, we've got Con Knuppel reincarnated, swooping to the basket, and he might tie that one up. He does. 33 seconds left, and they're going to get a 2-for-1 opportunity potentially, depending on, well, I guess, timeout called now by North Carolina as well, too. But I guess depending on how this gets handled, of course, by the Tar Heels, we will see if they're able to take this down to the last bucket. If it is tied, I mean, hey, yo, what are we doing? How is that never, never not the choice? But 31 seconds, 64 all for the game as we get the huddle and the speeches here. So for Caleb Wilson, only 5 tonight, 5 for 19. We saw the athleticism and the interior defense definitely be a little bit of a struggle. 11 rebounds is good, and 6 assists to 2 turnover ratios. 6 to 2 is honestly, for a forward, a really, really good ratio for a guy that would have 6 assists. If he was in that 20 a game range, but even early on, if he was 18 and 6, like, it'd still be obviously pretty crazy. But the efficiency to not even turn it over several times as well too, definitely the added bonus for the addition there. But inbounding to the backcourt, 28 seconds left, so there will be about 5 left if they take this all the way down for the last shot. But you could even see them, of course, 8-9 as well too. They get aggressive, they drive to the basket, the defense is there, but they get the layup to go, so plenty of time. 16-14, they get the ball over midcourt, and Aberdeen takes the timeout. 12.4 left. So you got to take the driving lanes that are available to you. That one was there. He made it really go. A beautiful little flip over the defender. But, yeah, you really, of course, got to, maybe pay attention to what could be available, versus when could and how and all the different stuff. But the Dennis Dixon is the guy that, I guess, Derek Dixon takes it in for the basket. A little low key on the scoring tonight, but looks like he could be a pretty fluid jiggler, I guess, if that's even a way of who even knows. But yeah, with a 2-point lead here with the last 12 seconds left, we will see if we can get a standout clutch performance in the final minutes here. Aberdeen with a last shot attempt, like we said, his quickness to the basket, but Owe was a strong driver earlier as well too, so I imagine him as an option is also something that they could definitely consider as well. But the out of timeout plays here by Pope, of course, is going to be something to watch. And definitely, of course, if we're just going legacy as well too, definitely something that could be compared with him and Calipari as well. Calipari out of timeouts definitely had his stuff there as well over the course of Kentucky. So, how does Pope carry on that potential could be something that happens. A little stiff out of the timeout, but they do get around the corner, and he's not able to get the layup to drop. Oh, North Carolina throws it into the front court, but I think it's going to be a penalty in the backcourt, and some free throw attempts make it a 2-point game. But hey, yo, at least you did end up getting a good look. I don't know if that was a play that they ended up drawing, kind of getting to the corner, and then the guard turning the corner on the drive. I mean, again, it was there. So good double move to get the lane to be able to get the look. But no, the defense by North Carolina. Caleb Wilson with the celebration. Shout out. How many times will we call him Caleb Williams? Will be the battle we have to face, I guess, in the 2025 draft process, 2026 draft process for our guy. Hey, yo. Shout out. He at least got to the double-double. 14, 12, and 6. Looks good on the box score, even if it's not the most efficient. But, hey, it's college. It's a learning process. It's about, the moments in the individual tape and all that different stuff as well, too. So we should probably call it after that game. It is what it is. Of course, we'll be back Friday. Like I said earlier, you can join us here on the YouTubes. You can find us on the podcast feeds. We'll be around. We'll be back. You guys enjoy the next couple of days. Stay safe out there if you're in the Midwest, if it's storming. If you've got a slick road situation or whatever it may be. I don't know. We don't have to pause that at the end of this one. But, if you need to be careful while you're traveling around there, of course, lock in, be careful. And, just stay safe and return for the next live stream on Friday night. We'll be watching games. We'll be hanging out, having a good time. It's the holiday season. So, good vibes here on the Rem and Sam pod. And, family and friends and the Rem and Sam pod, I think, is the motto for the month. So we will hope to see you guys around for the next one, and enjoy the rest of your night.